looks like Dreamfire are in a great position to take this out. You don't have what it takes. Dreamfire with the back-to-back Gino.
EXO has a 2, trying to finish this game off. Liquid will come second, but EXO.
Blast Alive, he's out. Optic is out. GMT is out. Dark Zero looking to go back-to-back. Dome Shield is placed, and now Dark Zero is going to be your champion of the APAC Legends.
Five LAN spots on offer as we jump into the final day of competition here in the ALGS APAC South. It's time for the regional playoffs. Back-to-back last year, APAC South went Genome. I don't know if you know that, but you know, maybe there's a chance we can do it again, and it will be one of the 5 teams that do qualify through from today that are going to have to take that mantle and run with it if that is to be the case. So today is a very big day for the region.
Yeah, big shoes to fill. Obviously, Dark Zero you're talking about there. You know, they're playing over for a spot in NA. So, yeah, would it be them or perhaps, you know, can a team from APAC South, the region where we seem to just, you know, raise champions. Obviously, the grindstone over here just hits like nowhere else in the ALGS world.
Certainly. Well, look, I mean, there's obviously a lot to sort of break down when it does come to this whole discussion. I think we should sort of start from the beginning and take a bit of a look at how the season has been sort of shaping up. Genome, I know we're obviously into day number 6, but this is really only the start of the quote-unquote competitive year for Apex Legends in terms of, you know, where we're starting and where we're going. It's going to be still quite another long 6 or 7 months still before we get to the end of year 3. So let's be real, this really is only just the start of all the shenanigans that are going to occur over the next, you know, half a year or so. And what we have been looking forward to, of course, is the Split 1 playoffs. As you can see, they're the top 5 from the Pro League. Going to go through to the Split 1 playoffs, and as of yet don't know where that's going to be, but certainly looking forward to it. And it's always going to be a big event, right? It's always a big opportunity, especially for teams from this region, which is generally an underrepresented region in many esports, to get that opportunity to go overseas and play internationally. And considering how strong the results have been from this region, I don't think that really anything's going to change going into the Split 1 playoffs for year 3.
No, you know, and it's only the top 5 from this region. Obviously, some other regions get 10 teams, and I think that's one of the reasons why almost all of the teams that we have sent overseas so far have done really well. Several of them are, you know, making that top 20 at LAN multiple times now. And yeah, when we get to these lands, it's just such a great opportunity for the players here in APAC South. As you say, you know, underrepresented in a lot of esports. And even, you know, like as far as ALGS go, as far as, you know, how much, you know, like the salaries these teams have, all that kind of stuff, it's a little bit harder here in APAC South, honestly. And that means that making it to that global stage is often a bigger deal for these guys often than it is for some other teams around the world.
Yeah, indeed. Well, as mentioned, we are into day 6 of the Pro League, and day 6, as most of you would know, is going to be the regional playoffs day. There's a lot to break down with regard to that. It is a match point format. We'll get into that discussion in a little bit, but obviously the first 5 days we've sort of been building up to this point. We've been playing for seeding essentially into day number 6, and how that's going to impact things over the course of the day. We're going to sort of have to wait and find out. We had to cull from 30 teams now down to 20 teams, and we're at that point now where we're starting to really think about, all right, those teams that have done well over the first 5 days, have they done enough to give themselves that edge to push their way through to one of the 5 qualification spots, or are they still going to need to work really hard today?
And I guess one of the other things to think about, Elfish, is that we haven't seen a lobby like this in ALGS just yet, right? This is the top 20 teams, and that plays differently to if you're getting some of these mixed lobbies with the top 30 teams. So generally what happens here is the better teams tend to perform even better because they're the ones who have that class, who can take on all of the best teams in this region.
All right, well, we did obviously touch on it a little bit earlier, but, you know, top 5 is going to be one thing to talk about. That's going to be the qualification spots, but this is the prizing as well that is associated with where you sit at the end of the season. Now, it is a little bit, I suppose, of a caveat that we have to point out. First place doesn't necessarily walk away with 10K. If you win today, if you do take that first place on day 6 and you get the golden ticket, I suppose we'll call it, into the LAN finals, doesn't necessarily mean you've actually won the split. You'll still get your 25 points from the day, but there is still a world where, you know, maybe, let's say Chicken Sandwich comes second today in the overall day results, but still walks away with first in the league standings. They'll walk away with that 10K. So a little bit of a thing to think about there. But you'd be expecting those teams that have really done well during the regular season to continue to place highly, at least in terms of the overall standings. But yeah, obviously that one match point winner, I think that's going to be what we're really focusing on today. You win the match point format today, you go overseas, it doesn't matter where you start in this lobby, so it is still anybody's game.
Exactly. And yeah, so it's a match point format today, as we've been talking about. Now, if you guys haven't seen this before, it's a format that we run with for the really exciting, the playoffs, the big finishes in Apex Legends esports. And what that means is that a team needs to get to 50 points first today, okay? Everyone's starting on 0 today. They need to make it to 50. Once they have made it to 50, from the next match on, they become match point eligible. At that point, they need to win a game here, and then they will be declared the winners for today. So that's what we're talking about with that golden ticket. If you are the match point winner today, you get to go to LAN. And that means that all 20 of these teams are still in the running. There's the other 4 spots that you have to qualify for with points across the season. Those ones, you know, they're not decided yet today, but we've done the maths, and there's only 7 teams that can make it into those 4 slots. So looking at those teams so far, that's Chicken Sandwich, that's Dewa, EXO, Boogie Borders, Moist, Dreamfire, and Buriram. So there's 7 teams there that have the chance to grab those 4 qualification spots. And then everyone else is playing for that first spot and the prizing essentially today. So everyone has a chance to make it to LAN, but it's going to be first or nothing for more than half of the teams in this lobby.
All right, well, here's the breakdown of all 20 teams that have managed to make it through to today. Remember, 10 teams did get cut off at the bottom. They didn't make it through to today. But, look, I think it's a very strong-looking lobby. As you've mentioned, there's a number of teams that can still make it in terms of the placement points. Everyone else sort of focusing on just getting that win. But we've seen it before. We've seen it in the past. It is possible for teams to come from absolutely nowhere, to come from not having even potentially won a single game this season. Golden Sage, for example, right? They haven't found themselves a single win. Emmanuel as well this season. Those 2 teams are the only teams that haven't found a lobby win. But it doesn't necessarily matter if when push comes to shove, you get the win today, right? If you get the win at the perfect time, maybe you just need to peak at the perfect opportunity, and that could be today for those guys. Now, look, there's a lot to really think about, but again, we also have to consider the fact that scoring is still relevant, right? It's not all just about that one win at the perfect time. It's a big factor. It's definitely a big talking point and something you're going to hear us harping on about today. But again, you want to be doing as much as you can to put yourself toward the top end of the scoreboard today to get as many league points out of it as possible. Even if you're maybe not one of the teams that's already inside of the top 4 and trying to hold on for one of the placement qualifications, you can still get yourself some extra prize money. There's a lot to think about there. So every game matters, every kill matters, every point matters, and yeah, ultimately as well, every win matters. In some cases, every win matters a lot more than others. Now, either way, that's enough format discussion. Obviously, you know, you guys will figure it out as we go if you haven't stuck around long enough to figure it out already. But we do need to touch on a couple of the important teams as well to keep an eye on. The first one that we want to highlight is Boogie Borders. Coming into this season, Genome, they were, I think, a team that we really expected to do well. I don't know about you, but my expectations were relatively high for this team. I'm not sure they were as high as actually what Boogie Borders have been able to achieve. I think Boogie Borders have almost gone above and beyond my expectation. I thought they'd be good. I didn't realize they'd be this good.
Well, we've definitely seen how good they were, especially last week, Elfish, right? That's where they had one of the biggest game results, and it actually got them quite a few split points right at the end in Game 6, and I think this is actually some of the vision we're getting here. They walked away with, I can't remember, it was like 33 points, something like, it was like a 21 kill game or something like that to finish it off with, and that just shows how much class these guys have. Now, they do perform well in these, these really high intensity, high skill lobbies like we're going to see today with the top 20 teams in the region. And I think that they may even be able to do better today than we've seen from them throughout this season. They're just one of those teams that can really show up when it's all on the line. And the fact that they've done that so far means that they're in a really good spot to make it overseas.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that we have to mention for them, they have picked up the 3 wins this season. So, it's not exactly the highest conversion rate. There are other teams that have picked up a few more than what Boogie Boarders have, but at least they've got some precedent that they are able to win games. Now It's just about doing it at the perfect time. So, big discussion to be had about that, and something that we'll sort of keep touching on throughout the day. Next team that we had in mind to talk about was Buriram, and actually, for mine, Genome, I think Buriram is going to be one of the teams that I in particular, I'm keeping a very keen eye on today, because I think the season that they've shown us, while it's been a little bit up and down so far this season, has been filled with a lot of wins. So the fact that they're able to get a lot of wins on the board, even if they're maybe a little bit less consistent in terms of their overall placement, is going to be a big deal for a team like Buriram, who today, if they hit 50 points, they're going to be a real threat for the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, they are tied with Dewa for the most individual match wins, 6 across the entirety of our split 1. And of course, we're gonna be talking about that a lot. How good are these teams at taking out that #1 spot out? Because that's what matters today, right? It's match point, and that means that you need to get to be able to take out those wins. To pick up the big dub today, to pick up that golden ticket, as we're going to call it, across the land. Doesn't matter where you end up in the split standings overall throughout the season. If you can, convert that match at the end of today's play, that's going to be all you need to do. So teams that have that ability to come first, to really pick up those wins a lot more than others, because you got to remember, there's some teams like Moist, for instance, who only have 2 wins across the entire season. So expecting them to do it and come first today is honestly a big ask.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to be said as well for Buriram is they are a bit more of an outside shot when it comes to the placement points, right, for the season as a whole, the league points, I should say. So if they're going to be able to get it done, I almost feel like it does have to come from that overall win. It does almost have to come from that, unless someone else is having a bit of a rougher day today and they're able to sort of leapfrog 1 or 2. It's going to be a tight race for Buriram, but yeah, definitely still very much doable for them today, especially given what they've been able to show us during the regular season. Now, we do have the beacons to have a look at here as well, Genome. That can give us a bit of an insight as to where teams are going to be dropping. We'll be starting off on World's Edge today, and as you would know, in the match point format, we do fairly quickly interchange between the maps. We play 2 games on World's Edge, then 2 on Storm Point, and continue to rinse and repeat. So it's not the same as your regular standard day, but kicking things off on World's Edge.
Yeah, exactly. 2-2-2. And obviously we get a bit of a change here in these drop spots because we're getting into this final lobby where teams haven't played this configuration with this 20 teams thus far this season. So most teams being able to get their primary landing spots, I suppose. The ones that I'm going to touch on that haven't managed to get that today, one of the big ones is Buriram. So they would usually land, they've landed Siphon. I think it was Staging as well, that they've landed elsewhere this season. But they're going to have to go to Skyhook East because, of course, Moist are taking over Lava Siphon today. And then you've got teams like Ant who managed to stay in Overlook, and some other ones, they've forced some other teams out of there. So you've got 505, they're floating around, going back down to Lava City. So actually, most people have managed to stick around those spots. Maybe Golden Sage going up to Climatizer, they're not going to feel as comfortable up there as well. But for the most part, these teams have won through to this final lobby with the POIs that they expect.
Let's have a look at Storm Point as well before we do jump too far into things. Obviously, that's going to be a map that we will see today. I don't know how much of it we're going to see because it will end up being maps 3, 4, and then 7 and 8. So do we get to 7 and 8? That's going to be the first question you'll have to ask yourself. But for teams that are a bit more comfortable on Storm Point, welcome change when we get into Game 3.
Yeah, now over on Storm Point, again, most of these teams are playing in those situations. Buriram, once again, don't get their spot. So they've been playing mid-map for a lot of this season. But Golden Sage, they're going to be sticking there for today, and Buriram have respected that, and they've gone down to Antenna. Now, we did have one last-minute change, so if you're looking up there being like, man, High Point is a weird POI to contest for, why on earth would 505 and Team Op do that? Yeah, well, look, you're right. T4, I don't know why. These guys are like the nice guys of the lobby. They always seem to, make it a little bit easier for everyone else. So they've actually moved down to Shipfall, where Team Op previously were landing. This was very last minute. Unfortunately, we couldn't reflect that in the graphic. But yeah, T4 are going down to Shipfall, which means that Mexus who's on 505, of course, I think are going to switch across to Lightning Rod, and then 2 M&K, 1 Pad will be staying in High Point. So I think that's how that's going to shift out. Not likely to be any contest there.
I mean, it does surprise me a little bit when you look at the positioning of a team like Golden Sage, for example. You mentioned taking the drop location away from Buriram. Traditionally, what you would see is the top teams get their drop spots a little bit more comfortably than the weaker teams. You'd expect Golden Sage to move out of there, but it seems like Buriram have that in mind. Either way, it's time for us to jump into game number 1, Genome. So let's get all the talk out of the way and really get into the action, because that's what we're all here for. We're looking forward to seeing which of these teams, which 5 of these teams are going to be making their way through to the Split 1 playoffs for Year 3 of ALGS. We'll kick things off on World's Edge. And of course, biggest thing to talk about, getting a good start. You really want to be getting off to a good start today. Get to 50 points as quickly as possible so that you can give yourself as many opportunities to get that win when you need it.
Yeah, and you know what, Elfish? I actually went through how these teams have played so far this season, and only about half of them have managed to get to 50 points in the 6 rounds in a regular standard length lobby. Right? So it's most of the top teams you expect. And then the other ones that have managed to pop off have been like, say, Ant and Popcorn. They're probably 2 of the only other teams who we've seen get there that quickly. So yeah, like there's a lot of teams here who are going to have to play better than they have ever played so far in Split 1 if they even want to get to that point where they are eligible. Now, you were also talking about, getting off to a good start. Hot Zone, that's going to be at Countdown, where, of course, Dreamfire have held onto their POI there. So, already a reasonably good start for them. And not only that, but as you can see, they've got pretty good access to the ring if they want to play that. Or honestly, like Countdown is often, especially in these kind of rings where you're going up towards Skyhook, is a great place to gatekeep. So this is a fantastic start for Dreamfire here. One of the teams we're definitely keeping our eyes on throughout today.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I'm looking at quite a lot of teams that I think this is going to be a pretty good start for. I think the 4 main ones that we would have to touch on would be Chicken Sandwich, obviously. You've mentioned Dreamfire as well. Buriram and Daewoo United, they're all up in that northern side of the map, and they're all actually quite close to Skyhook naturally with their drop. So, yeah, I mean, Dreamfire is definitely a big one, but I think those other 3 teams as well are not going to be disappointed with the way that this circle shift has played out. And looking at some of the stats as well in terms of the way that teams have performed on this map, Chicken Sandwich and Daewoo United, they do find a larger portion of their points on this map than what they do on Storm Point. So with a circle shift like this, with that in mind, you're expecting them to have a good game here, and you're expecting both of those teams to get off to a good start, which is really going to stand them in a good position heading deeper and deeper into this match point format.
And of course, it's only going to get harder, and the pressure is only going to ramp up the further we get into this, the more that other teams get a lead. You saw the difference there, though, between, say, Dreamfire with Hot Zone, triple purples. They've even got an extra armor just sitting there on the ground for them to amp up or shield swap, depending on how they want to play that, versus a team like Chicken Sandwich, who had 2 whites and a blue. So big differences even to start out with, and also a good spot, honestly, that Dreamfire picked up there. I mean, sure, they're playing that aggressive composition, so they are rolling out what we saw from in the latter half of this split with that Bangalore, Seer, and Crypto. Meanwhile, you've got, plenty of other teams playing these kind of compositions that we're also expecting that are a little bit more defensive with, of course, Crypto and Watson.
Yeah, Popcorn very nearly lose Kha'Zix there.
Ooh.
But they're just hightailing it and trying to get out to safety. You'd think this early in the game you would be able to do that, but maybe there's just not enough room for them to work with. It's MDY White on the other side of this engagement, and unfortunately, they're going to lose at least 1 or 2 members here. T4 trying to camp them out as well. And that is really not the start that you want to be seeing for Popcorn. It's a 0-point game from them. And to start a day off like that, with circumstances like this, I mean, that really just sets you in a bad frame of mind, because you now know you're going to be at least a game behind the rest of the lobby in what is a format that really benefits getting more opportunities, more games technically on that match point. It's a bit of taste in your mouth to start the day like that. So hopefully they're not going to, get stuck with any sort of tilt or anything like that. They can wash it off, hopefully jump into game 2 and perform well. But I can imagine that's not going to set them in a great frame of mind heading into game 2 or onwards.
No, it's pretty rough, isn't it? And honestly, it didn't feel like they had a chance there at all. I'm not going to lie. They ran into MDY White, and as soon as they pushed back, like they disengaged pretty quickly. But unfortunately, T4 were just directly behind them. They were coming through streamer building, and really there was just nowhere to go. So Popcorn, unfortunately, don't rotate in a manner that really allows them to sneak up here into that northwestern side of the map. And, especially when you get those skyhook circles, Elfish, you got to remember, there's so much room to play in there. If you can make it to skyhook, you'll often make it to circle 4, circle 5 without any worries. So the fact that they can't even reach that POI is a real shame for those guys going out early.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I think things will slow down a little bit. We've seen most of the teams now have already made their rotation into Skyhook. You do still have 1 or 2 hanging around here. It's MDY taking some shots at Team Op right now. Going to force the alternator pylon out of Team Op, so it does look like we're going to see a bit of a pitched battle. And I'm a little bit concerned here, actually, for the team copping the initial shots, because you have to be aware of Ant Esports Club, who are wrapping in from the northern side. They're going to end up around behind Team Op. Luckily, they have just chosen the perfect timing to disappear into that cave. You can see MDY backing away as well. And it's a good thing they've done so, because those shots are starting to come through. So you need to be very careful when taking these early engagements. A lot of teams still rotating, a lot of teams still sort of hanging around. And if you make a bit too much noise, there is going to be third parties involved.
Seems very likely. MDY, definitely one of the teams that these other teams are most scared of, honestly, in the entire lobby, and especially when they're playing a composition like this. Bangalore, Bloodhound, and Crypto gives you so much aggressive power when you're pushing into other teams. Interestingly, one of the things that's come out of the recent shift over to a lot of Bangalore is that teams are partly using this to try and counter aim assist. Elfish. That's one of the reasons, not the only one, but one of the reasons why we've seen Bangalore get picked up, because through the smokes, you don't get as much or any help with the aim assist on controllers. So it's one of the way that, the meta is changing to try and deal with that sort of another level of the meta between, mouse and keyboard and controller, that ever-present clashing of inputs that we have at high level in Apex Legends.
Yeah, I've really been seeing that conversation. I mean, look, it's been going around. It's been doing the rounds forever, basically, but seems to have really started to come to a head in the last couple of months or so. But either way, not necessarily something for us to sort of make an opinion on. But I think we all know that mouse and keyboard is superior, so we'll just leave it at that one. And we'll touch on the circle that has shifted out over toward the western side, the northwestern side, in fact. And funnily enough, that's where teams like Chicken Sandwich, Dreamfire, Dewa, Moist, all EXO even as well. All these top teams that we've spoken about over the course of the pre-show have already situated themselves on that edge of the ring. So I don't know if there's something in that one, you know. I don't know if maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much, but I gotta say, all those teams being in the same area of the map, you put 2 and 2 together, and you think maybe they had a bit of an inkling it was headed in this direction.
Yeah, well, there's kind of two main spots that it would be pulling to. One of them is exactly where you were talking about in that sort of northwest portion of Skyhook. The other one, the kind of, I'd say the more classic ending is over towards the northeast side between the train tunnel and the diner. And there were definitely a couple of teams who were picking that out as well. Buriram, you know, who were taking the train station. Maybe they were hedging their bets a little bit. Them and Golden Sage, they're all over towards that end. And actually, some of those teams are even having a go at it right now. You can see Ant taking out Golden Sage as they try and move past. They're going past Buriram, and they only leave Azu alive.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it's going to happen, right? These kind of engagements are going to come to a head, especially when the circle is getting as congested as it now is. And the sad part about this for Golden Sage is that this is not even inside the next zone, so the territory that they were fighting over wasn't necessarily where they needed to be or where they needed to be in the next couple of minutes or so. They've essentially lost their game over nothing, and it was more of a rotation pathway for Ant and something that they were going to use as a staging ground. So very unfortunate for Golden Sage to be starting in that capacity, the same as Popcorn. Both those teams not really going to get much of a run in for game number 1, but it is what it is. Sometimes that's just how it's got to be. There's a nice little tag from Killer Pos as he spots all 3 members outside of his building. That is going to keep you a little bit wary, knowing there's so many players outside.
Yeah, the Seers just using that info. Try and get some free shots onto the others. Massive damage there coming out from Killer, who'll actually put one of the Team Up members on the ground, playing this new look defensive composition for the team. And they certainly haven't been doing quite as well for it. I'm surprised they aren't going down to finish off this kill, actually. I guess they're just... maybe they're trying to heal up first. Are they even going to let them get the res onto Xiao Kai? Interesting.
I mean, I think maybe that comes down to just a little bit of early game, not jitters per se, but they want to have a good first game, right? They don't want to take an early fight here, go out of the picture pretty early on in the piece, and make life for themselves a little bit more difficult later on down the track. They just want to play it a little bit slower, a little bit more reserved, and ensure that they're not throwing their game away, which, to be fair, I think is probably a good choice from X. So I recall earlier on in the season, they did have quite a few games where they exited pretty early on. So I'm actually kind of happy to see them taking a little bit more of a passive route in this engagement. They do confirm that kill. And so at least there's 1 point on the board for them. They now know that they've got a confirmed 2-on-3. Fully reset, get fully prepared, you know, maybe build up a couple of the old charges again, and really just let loose on Team Up when you need to, because you're inside the zone. There's no sense right now in pushing the issue, especially in a meta like this when we're playing with Watsons.
Exactly. They're inside the zone. They've got time to do this, and they're just being so methodical about it. I mean, Xiao Kai's back up. It was actually the other player, the crypto player, that went down, and that they, you know, you can just see them just closing the net slowly. They know they're not going to be able to get the respawn here. It's the crypto player that's gone down, so they're not going to be able to use the drone to get, you know, a respawn from distance or anything like that. And yeah, it just seems slowly but surely they're probably going to take out the other 2 members of Team Up here, but they don't want to get third-partied, and I really like how, how safely they're playing this.
Oh, I will, you know, give you a little bit of a sneak peek. As you can see, all those drones are flying around in the air on the mini-map. Teams are looking to scout the next circle. It will be available, and you can see it there. There's a little bit of a spoiler alert maybe for you. Top right, top left, I should say, does give you the indication that we are once again going to be heading, incidentally, top left. It's pretty much pulled the exact same direction that it did previously, and some teams are aware of that. Not all of them. There is a beacon inside of Skyhook, or a couple of beacons that can be pinged by drones. And so some teams have started to make rotations in as a result of that information that they've been getting off of their cryptos. But again, I'll remind you, the teams that were up in that top left side of the map, the northwestern side of the map, were Moist, Dewa, Dreamfire, Chicken Sandwich, 4 of the top teams in the region, and 4 teams that now might be able to walk away with a win in game number 1. MDY, on the other hand, doing it pretty tough because there's 3 teams in Trials.
Yes, we've got PK on the inside of Trials here, and then Free Agents, as a duo at the moment, it looks like, are playing up the top. So, Definitely some space to be played in there, at least until the next zone. I think it's going to be, Trials will be completely out, but it's certainly a good place to play just for now. We did get a little bit of vision of Northside Esports. I think it was them having some struggles in the middle as they valked in. But yeah, as you said, Dreamfire, you know, have absolutely picked this circle so well, right? And not only that, as we mentioned, they got Hot Zone. So unlike most teams who are going to sit there and just have to, you know, deal with that, they're starting off with purples. Or PK just trying to weather the storm here inside Trials.
Yeah, hey, very nearly goes down there. Commander lucky to be still up with 3. In that meanwhile, Dexter has managed to get himself another knock for EXO on the kill feed, but that's going to have to be something that'll be converted because it's a rotation that's required from EXO in particular. And in fact, all these teams right now that we're watching on our screens too, from Premise Commander and everyone else in Trials, is also going to have to move in not too long, a couple of minutes. We'll see ring number 3 close. And so if you didn't have the information already as to where that 4th ring was going to go, you do now. You've also got only a minute and a half or so to process that information and figure out what you're going to do, where you're going to go.
Wow, Buriram, they don't make it out alive from the train station there. So there's one of our teams that we're keeping an eye on gone. Team Op as well, finally you know, mopped up, I guess, by Exo Clan. And they take 1 knock to do it. This is what they were trying to avoid. And just as that happens, unfortunately, Truth are going to push in. We thought they were so patient, but maybe it wasn't enough.
Yeah, maybe not. Truth Esports will need to get that res onto Cyajin God pretty quick. Smart, and they should be able to do it pretty easily now with EXO out of the picture. And that's, unfortunately, I think a symptom of what has occurred many times this season for EXO. They look like they might have a good start. They win a decent fight or two, but then things just seem to fall apart. And the exit in 15th place is not going to net them any placement points or anything significant, really. Just a couple of kill points out of it. Again, not the start that they would have liked to have seen. But either way, we'll turn our attention toward greener pastures. Chicken Sandwich. They have been, I would say, I guess, the breakout team of this season. I don't know that anyone would have expected them to be in first place heading into the final day. But, of course, we do have to remember that it is the final day that matters. And if they can't get it done here, if it all falls apart on day number 6, then yeah, maybe we'll walk away disappointed.
Okay, MDY White, they're turning their attention towards the 3 or so teams over there. We've also got a fight happening over in Trials.
Doesn't look like it's going to be much of a fight for too much longer, at least. Premise Commander do get eliminated very quickly by MDY.
Well, they're stuck inside, right? They have to try and make their way out. They pretty much have to go through MDY, but they can't. The gatekeepers prevail this time, and they should be able to just wander back into the zone on foot. Meanwhile, everyone that's coming in through Skyhook is just getting pounded here, and we're watching a lot of them in market struggle.
Yeah, and that's to be expected, right? Everyone's having to rotate their way across. You're going to see teams trying to breach their way into positions. Chicken Sandwich have done just that. It is just Strafing Flame who, I mean, he's trying to lock it down on the Watson there, but it's not going to be easy for him. EMP hops on top of 2 separate teams. I don't know whose EMP that was, but it would have really caused problems for everyone on the rotate in. Feiju, sitting inside of the Bangalore smokes, can potentially find a res or 2 here. And if he's able to do that, get a couple of those MDY White members back up into full fighting fitness. 3 strong. It's still not going to put you in a great spot because, again, we've gone hard to the northwest. The circle is just magnetized to that area of the map, and you've got a long way to cross. You can see you have to go past Moist, who were well set up, ready to go. Pricey there from Boogie Borders. From Moist, I should say.
Yeah.
Give a throwback. Is doing a good job of just stopping anyone from progressing forward.
Yeah, well, they've managed to get 1 down onto MDY White, and this is it. That means Moist are going to try and push up and start clearing out the positions around them to make their rotation in a little bit easier. But unfortunately, on the backside, MT goes down. They're trying to deal with Dewa from the north, and that kind of stops their push. They have to try and reset here. They've got a bit of ground to work with, and they're going to get that off, I believe. Interesting. Okay, none of the other teams are going to push them. That's good for them for now, but still, only 20 seconds left until this ring starts to close in. This is going to be a tough rotation, Elfish.
It certainly is, and I think you're at that point now where maybe you're quite happy with the placement you've been able to get, and it's less necessarily about getting the win. Sure, I mean, Dreamfire, they'll be looking for the win given they've got Godspot, but everyone else is also thinking about, if we don't win, how many kill points can we get out of this? If I'm Moist right now, and I'm sitting in the center of the map, I'm not inside of the next zone, I'm trying to really gatekeep MTY, who I know are under the pump a little bit. They're starting to run low on resources. They've got a worse position than we do. And that's exactly what Moist is being able to do so far. Feiju already getting knocked down by Pricey. MTY White out of the picture while they lose Empty, and it'll be tough to get that res at this point in time. Moist have not only secured themselves an extra 3 kill points, but they've also secured an extra placement there as well. They've gone from 6th to 5th bare minimum, and when they themselves had to make a rotation that was going to be pretty tough, I think that's the right choice.
Yeah, look, that was pretty much all they could do. It felt like there was no way they could get into that circle, so at least grabbing some of the kill and placement points here, that's really all they can hope for. You can see Emmanuel as well go down, and that's at the hand of Boogie Borders there, who are in a good position. Dreamfire, they've been right in the middle of this from the very, very start. Dewa, they've been playing the top well. North side is all theirs at the moment. So just the 3 squads left. And who knows, this one actually could come to an end a little bit sooner here. You seeing the Bangalore ult come down, Rolling Thunder is going to keep people away. But certainly, I feel like Dewa probably has the better spot here, considering they're not in the middle of this, just like Dreamfire and Boogie Borders are.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is Dewa's game to take for now. Obviously, things can definitely go wrong, but you'd be expecting Dreamfire and Boogie Borders to fight one another first. Dewa United have set up a trap outside of the building. They're watching all the exits. They've really got a nice crossfire established. You can see Bastion's gone down there out toward the left side, and Easy Flash and Kissans are just sitting up and over the top of the highway still, waiting for everyone to exit the building.
It's going to be one of those situations. Will Dreamfire have to worry too much about Boogie Borders as they roll out? I'm not sure. It's going to be tough, actually. I think Dewa just have enough cover. Oh my god, scout shots coming out from Kissans there, doing so much damage with just a few clicks there.
Well, Dreamfire are going to wait as patiently as they possibly can. They do have the Bangalore smokes to work with. And that might be to their advantage. But the push is going to start to come through here from Boogie Borders. They really wanted to force the issue. They decided to go. They're going to, I think in this case, really just play for a second. And I'm not sure that's worked out very well for them. Dewa United have decided now is the time to strike. And Boogie Borders were the team that pushed out first. They are punished for that. And Dreamfire are stuck inside. They are getting farmed by Dewa United, who are now the team out in first place, not only for today to kick things off in the match point format, but also in terms of lobby wins for this season. They were equal with Buriram heading into today at 6 apiece, but now they move to 7, and that is a very important statistic considering the format we are playing at the moment. So fantastic start for Dewa United, massive confidence building game. And you have to say they are going to be a very threatening team if they're the first team to get to 50 points today.
No doubt about that. They started the season a little bit slow, and I heard other pro players saying to me, man, I expected Dewa to be a little bit better than this. But it feels like they have come into their own as the season has worn on, and you can see there with that result. Honestly, I feel like all the teams are playing really well, Elfish. I mean, Dreamfire read that so well. They got, essentially Godspot to start with. And we're in a fantastic position. Only ended up with 4 kills, which is a little bit unusual for them, but that's because they had such a good spot and just played that out more so for placement points. But then, they knew that they had to force that fight with Boogie Borders, so they didn't get, it wasn't too much of a war of attrition there at the end. And they did that. They won it, sure, but Dewa also recognized that and just rolling in to kill them before they even had a chance to really get too many armor swaps off, get those med kits off, and help them, place out that final 3v3, basically. So honestly, well played all around. I'm not sure any of those teams could have done that any better.
Yeah, look, 19 points out of that game for Dewa United, 7 kill wins, so I guess you can make the argument that they're 40% of the way there in terms of the points that they need. 19 out of 50. not quite 40%, but close enough to it that it's much of a muchness. And if they can put together another game or two like that, then they could be on match point by game 3 potentially. I do recall though in the past having spoken about similar things like that. You look at it and you say, oh, the team that won, if they keep this up, they're going to be match point by game 3. But I don't really find generally that we get into the match point until maybe game 5, game 6 is where that sort of starts becoming a little bit more valid, unless someone's just utterly dominating things. But yeah, we'll have to sort of wait and see. Let me ask you this though: what would be a point that you'd be happy with coming out of game 1 with? Like, where would you like to be sitting, right? Let's say 10 points, 15 points. What's the kind of number that you'd be happy with? If it's not necessarily the win, how many points do you think you want out of one game, considering the format we're playing?
Yeah, considering you want to, as you said before, you want to get to that 50 points as soon as possible to give yourself all of those chances. I'd say 10 points is like acceptable if you're really looking to push it and you're one of those top teams. But 15 points, I'd say, is kind of like that's the point where you're like, okay, yes, we're on track, we're on pace. 4 or 5 games, if we can just keep that up, we'll get there.
Yeah, the only teams that I guess are sort of sitting at that point at the moment, Daewoo United, as we mentioned, on 19, Dreamfire and Manuel 13 and 12 respectively, and then Boogie Borders and Moist have both hit double digits and got 10 points. So that's where things are sitting at the moment. I think I'd probably be looking at 10 points and saying, yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. That means after 5 games, you're into the match point format and you can really start to have a crack. Maybe someone's going to do it a little bit faster than you, but probably only one team. You'd be pretty unlucky if they were going to be the team that got to, let's say, 50 points after game 5 and won game 6. Normally the match point format does tend to bleed out a little bit longer than that. I don't recall how long it was last season we did it, but I remember we did one that was like 11 games, I think, and one that might have been 8 or 9 games. So normally just a little bit longer than your standard lobby. But we'll have to wait and see how things go today. There's not obviously been a massive start from anyone just yet.
Yeah. Now remember, it could be one game longer as well because everyone's starting on the same slate. Everyone's starting on 0 points. The first seed isn't getting that 10 points to help get that up. And why don't we have a look at the scoreboard to see just exactly where everyone stands? There was some pretty epic maths by Elfish just there. I think he's got most of them right. So as you said, Daewoo sitting on 19 there. Dreamfire with mostly the placement points, unusual for them, sitting up there at 13. Emmanuel on 12. Okay, nice. They picked up 7 kills. So this is a team that, maybe one of those outsiders, one of those dark horses that could be looking for that first place finish to get to land because they're not going to get it any other way, Elfish.
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about how big of a difference that is also going to make. Daewoo United finished the season in 2nd place overall, so they would technically get 9 points for free if we were playing the old format. They'd be at 28 points. They'd be already above the halfway mark for getting to 50. So, as you mentioned, could potentially give us an extra game today. I think that's very likely to be the case. And that one example is going to give you a really good idea of exactly why that is going to end up being the case. So overall, lots to sort of think about. I mean, for those other teams, obviously, as you mentioned, still plenty of time to catch back up. But I'm also looking at the teams that got 0 points out of that game. Team Mop, Buriram, Northside, Golden Sage, Popcorn. For those, 5 or 6 teams, very, very tough ask to come away with a reasonable position now to start to work from, unless you go on to win game 2. Even for 505 and PK only getting 1 point out of that one, Genome. They are leaving themselves in a pretty difficult rut to get out of. But, obviously it's something that you're going to have to deal with, right? You reap what you sow. And if you don't start well, then you're going to have to sort of build your way into the day. And hopefully for some of those teams, that's going to be what they'll be able to do. That said, it's game 1 done and dusted. We're going to have to head into game 2 in just a second, but don't go too far away because we're going to head to a break. Got something for you to watch in the meanwhile, and then we're jumping into game 2.
The best part about going overseas for LAN, for me, was definitely finally getting to compete against all the best players in the world and finally being able to meet all the people I know and compete against online.
We get to meet different people, the supporter from each team and all the players. I think select to compete with the best team on their region, that we are literally like together as one, and then we competing to be the best team in the world.
Meeting everyone from around the world, playing against the most competitive teams from all the regions, let alone just our own. Getting to meet everyone will be such a great experience, and being able to play against the best teams in the world, show off our skill and show how good we are in comparison to everyone else.
I think it's Valkyrie. Valkyrie and Crypto.
Valkyrie, Sia, and Watson.
You bang Sia Valk or Watson Crypto Valk.
Watson with Valkyrie.
I think everyone is scary enough to fight because everyone is good.
Daewoo, DF, and EXO.
For me, I think that many Chinese teams like DF, MDY.
You have to look at teams like Moist Esports. Our rotates are very good. We love to take a nice 3v3, perfect third party, things like that. We're jumping on it straight away.
I'd say our macros, some of the best in APAC South for sure, and I also think our team fighting.
My team is very good at following my order, and they are good at aiming. That's why.
We just trying our best.
Match point in regional finals and on LAN day may be the most interesting.
APAC has the best community compared to the other game.
Anyone can win if they don't give up.
Is going to be your champions of the APAC Legends Global Series.
Welcome back to the APAC South Regional Playoffs for ALGS Split 1. Today, we're looking for 5 teams to go through to the Split 1 playoffs and international opportunity. Genome, not something that crops up all that often. You get, I guess, 3 chances a year, right, when it comes to Apex Legends, and so you want to be taking it firmly with both hands. So far, Daewoo United is doing a really good job of that. They finished second in the regular split. They come through to today. They've won game number 1. They put themselves in a really good spot. Either way, if they win today and they get the match point victory, fantastic. If not, probably still in a good spot to go through and take one of those qualification slots regardless. So overall, fantastic stuff from Daewoo United to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, Daewoo as well as Chicken Sandwich and EXO are looking really good to go through and take one of those top 4 spots each. Then you've got, Boogie Boarders and Moist behind them looking pretty good. But Moist there, you can see they're sitting on 10 points. Now, we haven't talked about sort of the intricacies of how this is going to work out as much on air yet, Elfish. But basically, for Moist, they need one of 2 things, right? They either need to pretty much come first today, or they need one of the 4 teams ahead of them. That's Boogie Boarders, Chicken Sandwich, EXO, and Daewoo to come first. Because if that happens, they'll probably pick up that 5th spot, maybe even 4th if they have a really good day and can jump ahead of Boogie Boarders. But honestly, with how the point system works, it's very hard for those teams to jump up against above one another unless one of them just has an abysmal day, right? And they just haven't done that all split. Like, those teams have been consistent. They need to get like bottom 10, maybe even bottom 5 for that to happen. And that just seems honestly kind of unlikely. They're just too good. So at that point, yeah, Moist are really hoping that a dark horse doesn't come in and grab first place, because that could spell doom for them.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd be counting my chickens in that respect, because we've seen it before. We've seen teams go from absolutely nowhere to winning the match point format. And who knows what's going to happen today. All I know is we're jumping into game number 2. It is World's Edge once again. After this, we'll move our way over to Storm Point and change things up a little bit. But for now, we turn our attention back to what these teams are going to be able to do on World's Edge. And Daewoo United, they started well. They won game 1. Wonder if they can go back to back.
That would certainly be an achievement and certainly put them a long way towards getting that match point eligible status that all of these teams, frankly, are looking for. Now, Hot Zone was over at Lava Fissure. Boogie Boarders have also picked up the beacon spawn there, so they're looking pretty happy for themselves. Daewoo, they've also managed to grab a beacon, which of course Bastion, as you can see, their Valkyrie player will be able to get up to. A little bit harder for Seer, unfortunately, even though they're running the double recon. And as they get that info, once again, we're going northwest. So a lot of the teams that did well last time, Dreamfire again get complete priority on where they want to rotate. They picked the spot last time. They picked it so damn well. And once again, I feel like they're probably going to be able to get it here. They're actually pinging one of the caravans in front of Landslide. So they think this could potentially be heading to Landslide. That's an interesting spot to choose, actually. I feel like playing Countdown is one option you could think about here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see, say, Boogie Boarders also stick around in Lava Fissure. I think that's also a good spot here. Honestly, just sticking with your initial POI could be an option for all 3 of those teams that are landing, Landslide, Countdown, and Lava Fissure.
Indeed, indeed. Well, look, you say it's gone northwest. There is that, at least for some of those southern teams, they can look at that and say it hasn't gone as egregiously northwest. So it might make the game a little bit easier to play out in terms of rotations. You're not having to make your way all the way up into Skyhook. There's a little bit more to play around here near Countdown, Landslide. And so hopefully for teams coming up from the south, that's going to be a positive sign. But we'll have to wait and see. Lots of teams are already getting that information and starting to make their rotation across. If I'm Emmanuel, by the way, I'm not sure that I want to be sticking around in Landslide too long. This is going to be an area of the map that's going to be quite a hot point. Lots of teams are going to want to be rotating their way in here. Teams coming through from Fragment, from Harvester. I mean, a lot of teams coming up from south, like Lava Siphon, the Geyser teams, Big Mord teams, Lava City teams, etc. All these teams are going to kind of be funneling in through Landslide. So if I'm Emmanuel, I think I'm trying to get that replicating done as quickly as possible and just getting out of there. And you're almost already starting to see some of these engagements coming to a head. This is a little bit further down toward the southeast than exactly where I'm talking about. But for Chicken Sandwich, I mean, they're going to have to be aware of what's going on, because even if they do take this fight in the tunnel, when they move back out into Landslide, there's going to be another team waiting for them. So it could really get a bit messy in this area of the map.
Yeah, it's a good spot to hold down, though, if you're playing, What's in Crypto like they are. So they'll just set down the pylon and fences and start really making the Vault Tunnel their own. You can see it's Northside Esports coming up from Harvester, where they start, of course, and pushing into that tunnel. So they're going to be a little worried about trying to get out through here. Wow, even committing the Seer ultimate behind them, actually. And you can see Chicken Sandwich have completely gone up and left behind their defenses, and Northside Esports essentially being able to call their bluff because they put that Seer ult down and knew that there was no one actually sitting behind the defenses. And Chicken Sandwich, yeah, as you can see, Valk holding all the way over to Lavafish. So they've changed their minds. This is interesting, isn't it? That they've decided that the circles perhaps going to shift a bit more northwest and deciding to play from that northwest location. They're going to get this building in front of them. No one's there at the moment. Boogie Boarders actually went to Countdown. So the team that's starting there not agreeing with them.
Yeah, look, I don't think that is the worst of decisions, to be honest, based on the way that the circle has been pulling today and even a lot this season. Once it really hits the edge hard, I think you can sort of make a bit of an educated guess that it's going to continue to go that way. It seems to be a bit of a trend, so yeah, they are banking on that possibility.
It's like in Storm Point, you 100% agree with that. In World's Edge, though, they do throw you some curveballs every now and then, and that's why I think the teams that are going Countdown are hedging their bets a little more, right? And I think that makes sense. Absolutely don't disagree with what you're saying, but yeah, I think it's less of a sure thing, I suppose, than on Storm Point.
Yeah, I mean, look, there is a bit of a gambler's fallacy in there, maybe, that if it's happened once, it's going to happen again, and that isn't necessarily always going to be the case. But either way, enough talk about the zone. Let's take a look at some of the positions that teams have found themselves in. Obviously, Countdown is going to be a really important piece of the puzzle for a lot of these teams. You've got those control rooms that do offer quite a pretty good amount of cover, a nice place to hole up in while the zone is on the move. It means that you don't necessarily have to take fights if you don't want to. You can get information through the windows, so those are going to be premium points on the map. And already Buriram, Dreamfire, and Boogie Boarders looking to control 3 of those important rooms. You got Emmanuel down the bottom, just below Boogie Boarders right here, and they're sort of playing that, I guess you'd call it a tunnel, I suppose. Everyone knows the one I'm talking about, down near the bottom of Countdown, exactly where Fussy's looking. So a lot of teams already locking themselves in positions in Countdown. But beyond that, still got quite a few waiting to make that rotation. A team still in Harvester. There's a team or two still in Fragment. And even, in fact, 1 or 2 still up in Skyhawk. So, it's filtering through slowly. But this is kind of what you expect out of a game of this caliber. 20 squads still, 59 players. One team did come in as a duo, which was free agents. We haven't actually lost anyone this early. It was much faster last game. But maybe a bit of an awkward timing, a bit of an awkward start for 1 or 2 teams, but that has, by the looks of things, been shored up. And I've got to be honest, while I like to have the fun, sort of high kill, early kills kind of games, I think this is a better representation of how the region should be playing out. You don't want to be seeing teams go down early, because that means someone's been making a mistake, and you never really want to be seeing that at the high level. So, game 2 of the day, a bit more representative.
Yeah, I think it also just depends on how many teams and what styles they're playing, right? So if you've got more edge teams, you should be expecting to see some of those fights early. And as you can see here, Ant actually just sticking within the zone, as well as a bow check already on the side of Holiday here. But Golden Sage, they're coming in and trying to
just get my drone back over land side, double check
from
that there's nobody
the
in
outside.
there. Yep. Somebody watch our back for now, and then we're going to go for it.
I'm looking.
All right,
Team.
Truth. Going to be big chilling at the moment. And as well, they're in Skyhook. Going to have a little bit of a problem for themselves. Obviously, not only is Golden Sage in that vicinity, but I'm watching the minimap here and I'm seeing MDY White starting to make a rotation past into Skyhook as well. They've not gotten themselves into the zone yet. I mean, they're not taking any tick damage, but if this really kicks off between Golden Sage and Ant, I would expect MDY to be hanging around and looking for some more damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think for Ant, it's pretty much all done at this point, unfortunately. Holiday has managed to get far enough away that they're probably not going to chase him any further into the zone, because as you have said, I think they're aware that MDY are looking at them, or MDY White, I should say. They're probably just going to have to take those 2 kills, and Golden Sage can be happy with that, but it feels like there's probably a few death boxes yet that will litter Skyhook.
Well, patience seems to be a virtue here for Golden Sage. And next moment, I look, someone's firing a few shots off, so perhaps I've spoken too soon. Azu with a couple there onto one of the MDY members, but look, this is not the area of the map that you want to be getting stuck in. It's going to be a tough rotation out of Skyhook. It's a bit of a choke point getting out of Skyhook and into Countdown, and with teams already having set up in Countdown, if you're making a lot of noise in Skyhook, they're really going to have their eyes turned in that direction, and that means even if you do win this fight here, let's say you do it with 3 members up, you're probably going to take a lot of time to do that. You're going to have the zone at your back. Not going to be a fun rotation into Countdown. I don't want to see teams fighting in Skyhook right now. I think it's going to be a bad choice.
With MDY White looking on, it certainly could be. Holiday tried to make his way out. Unfortunately, he's been discovered. So seems like it's only a matter of time. He's just got a couple of arc stars he's trying to help dodge this fight with. But I think that's pretty much all she wrote for Ant Esports here. The round, the zone will close in. And now Golden Sage have to make their way out. And they're probably going to get through past a couple of teams, Free Agents, MDY White, Buriram, all looking on as these teams have to try and make their way out of Skyhook.
All right, well, MDY White, the time is ticking on their backs. 40 seconds until that ring is fully closed. Now, granted, they are on the slow side of the circle, but that really still doesn't leave them with a lot of time to work with, and obviously it leaves Golden Sage with even less. So both teams, I think, in a bit of a spot of bother here. Now, there is actually a little sliver of the next ring that's going to be playable. You will have to use the Valk ult to get out or go back out into the zone and run around. But maybe that's what they're going to have to fight over. Already not going too well for MDY White. They've lost a couple of members. And it's just Feiju left alive. We'll jump back over to Northside, who are chilling in the tunnel underneath Landslide for the moment, and they're doing okay. T4 looking for the third party here as well. So not only is there 2 teams fighting over this one sliver of safety in Skyhook, now a third to join them. This is going to be a mess.
Yeah, Golden Sage demolished there after the third party comes through from T4, and in turn they really put it to MDY White. So T4 are going to come out as the only ones there left alive, and then they will be pushing through towards the duo of Free Agents. Unfortunately, seems to be having some issues today. The circle, yeah, look, it's definitely been a tricky one, Elfish. We saw just that info there. It pulled over towards Countdown, and then it is going onto where Dreamfire have once again picked it perfectly. So these guys are really showing their knowledge today, and it's gone towards the southeastern, the big sort of building there in southwestern building in Countdown. That's actually quite hard to hold. It's very open. And of course, they don't have the Watson either, so they can't fence people out of that, but it does give them a lot of opportunities to try and take down other teams. So, you know, people will be playing around that from the south side, from Lava Fissure as well, so Chicken Sandwich will be pretty happy about this, but lots of other fights going on.
Yeah, Team Op, they've just spotted a team rotating underneath them right now, and getting some good shots in already. This is 505 that they're chasing, but the unfortunate reality here for Team Op is that they're going to get that elimination. They're going to wipe that team, but they have given up control of their position to Chicken Sandwich, who now have the high ground and can do the exact same thing back to them if they so desire. Looks like Chicken Sandwich are going to take it a little bit slower here, but Strafing Flames already found himself a knock with that Kraber.
No.
He's standing right above, and even though the alternator pylon has come down here, it's really not going to matter too much. Either way, it doesn't matter because Primus Commander have decided to take the exact same position that Chicken Sandwich just had. So it is just an absolute all-out brawl on this side of the map.
It was the easiest EMP of Player K's life to get that wipe onto Team Up, but they have no idea the Primus Commander are behind them. And now with PK, not only do have the element of surprise, they've got the high ground as well. The zone is going to be pushing them in. Player K pops the medkit. Will he even have time to get this off? It's pushing up right behind him. Can they get there safely? You can see Primus Commander are mirroring them on the side. They're trying to get into the zone, but it's going to be a very tough ask here. They're actually having to fall down just to try and get away. But this just means free fire from Primus Commander above them.
Yeah, Chicken Sandwich, they have at least made it into the zone, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to survive it. Pana has lost all of his shield, strafing Flame down to about half. The same for Player K. Primus Commando doing a little bit better in that respect, but it does look like Chicken Sandwich have been given enough room to get a little bit of a reset off here. And they're going to go off for a bit of a rotate on those zip lines through into the zone, but it does get them out of dodge in a sense, and it gets them into a little bit of a more playable position. So, nice little rotating there from Chicken Sandwich. Not in the end punished too hard for their aggression. Move our attention back over to Truth, who are now trying to gatekeep Primus Commander out of the zone. These teams on opposite ends of a fight.
Yeah, so we've got, teams all around now. With Countdown, a lot of that is going to be losing the space in the zone over the next couple of minutes. And so the teams are going to have to struggle there to get into the southwestern zone of Countdown here. And actually, the teams that are sitting in Lava Fissure will probably be a little bit happier about this one because they can just hug the edge of this mountain as we get into the next zone. They've also got a beacon close to them. Chicken Sandwich, actually, Strafen and Flame got taken out, and they're going to be able to use the Crypto Drone to not only get a little bit of information here with the beacon over in Lava Fissure, but also to grab that respawn here. So Chicken Sandwich really benefiting from their legend choice here as things start to heat up in Countdown with Dreamfire, Emmanuel, and Moist sitting in a good spot in that circle. Everyone else really is just going to have to push in.
Well, once again, it was always going to be a big problem in Countdown. When the zone shifts the way that it has, it's a lot of actually unplayable terrain. There's one big sort of mountain, hill, cliff, whatever you want to call it, right smack bang in the center of that next zone. So you could probably make the argument that 20% of this zone, 30% of this zone is unplayable. That's going to leave a lot of teams that had set up in a position that, if we would have gone directly over Countdown, would have been totally fine. But the reality is now, 60 to 75% of the teams in Countdown are going to have to move out. They're going to have to push into that same position that Dreamfire is going to be in, and that is going to result in a very, very heavily trafficked area of the zone. Truth Esports are, maybe not quite on that same discussion. They're on the other side of the map. Northside Esport as well, coming up from the south. Might have it a little bit easier in terms of how many teams are on their side of the map, but there's not as much cover there to play with. We'll jump over to EXO, Northside Esports. Yeah, as we said, not much cover to work with, and so pretty much just getting taken out of the picture. And, well, this is what you love to see. The answer there, absolutely nothing, because you're inside a smoke. So MDY can't see much at the moment, but, that's actually about as good as it's going to get for them, because that's really the only cover they've got. It's not hard cover, but it is effective cover. If they can't see you, they can't shoot you.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. EXO, you can see right next to them there. This is actually a really nice spot for EXO because they at least have cover on both sides. And as you can see, they've fenced the hell up there just to keep everyone out. That did allow them to get the reset. And yeah, look, EXO just going to be sitting fine there until this next circle, of course. And it has, unfortunately for them, shifted very much to the north of that Countdown building we're sitting in. So Dreamfire will continue to be fine once again. They should safely make it to the X zone if they can keep everyone else out. But it's all going to be all these teams under the south here. EXO, MDY, Primus Commander, who are going to struggle and have to push through the fire and the flames here.
Well, they're well on their way. Through the fire and the flames and the smoke, I think. Probably where we should put that one, but a couple of good shots out there from the scout. Just going to prompt another team to move away. Oh, those are some really good shots from Mitsuru Sama. Gets the knock on the killer pause. Really causing a problem.
Oh, man.
That's insane stuff. He is really just nailing every single one of those, and well, we know him as one of the better snipers in the region, and he's proving that as well with the scout.
Doesn't get time for any kills there. Just going to have to Valkyrie out. This is the only, smart decision, but it's the only decision, really. PK go behind them. They're taking a lot of damage from the zone, actually. Valking from pretty much the same spot as we just saw them do. It's actually going to be the Oop play. Of course, you can't heal. You've got to drop down and do that afterwards. And you can see that's causing trouble for so many teams here who have to try and make this desperate play to get into the zone.
Oh, Saiyajin God down on the floor already. Nutsuru Sama, who's going to have to get it done alongside Mosu, who we're watching right now. Nice little crack in there. And a good follow-up from Nutsuru Sama. Chicken Sandwich get eliminated in 9th place. Moist Esports, a fan favorite, definitely, are fighting hard, and they're doing quite well for themselves. They've got Alternator piling up. They've got a decent amount of hard cover to work with. And, I mean, all things considered, they don't really seem too contested at the moment for their position. They're now inside of the top 5 as we see PK and Bookie Porters both getting eliminated as well. This could be a good performance from them.
Okay, we've got the other duo there in the last 5 squads. As you said, Moist doing very well. They've had 2 pylons taken down in about the last 20 seconds. They had one ready to go, but sniped down from the high ground, I believe, from Buriram immediately as they place it. This, of course, is the last zone. It's going to pull just outside of this building. You've got Truth Esports as a duo. You can see sort of hiding up the top there. Buriram, they're struggling right now. You can see Lalabang taking a little too much damage, but it feels like Dreamfire, they're watching through that window. No one can get through it until they decide to push out, and I'd say Dreamfire are probably in the best spot.
Indeed. Well, Moist have set themselves up nicely. 5 squads left to go. Let's hear from Moist as they try to close this game out.
Bloodhound team might look to drop on us, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, watch that, watch that. You can get some more fences out here, maybe.
Drop the one dot empty if you need it for your car.
I'm grabbing it. They're here, they're right here.
We just gotta hard stay that. They might just fight bridge. We gotta care both sides that they just don't drop on us. Drop, duo.
Everyone's looking to peek.
Crypto's low.
Nice. You play his backside, you play his backside.
Play backside.
Yeah, play the backside, play the backside. I think the duo has to move, that's why they're looking to peek. Truth. Yeah, they do. They're gonna have to move soon. We need to look to kill them, we need to look to kill them. Yeah, we do, we have to focus them, we have to stare them. Valk's up on the blue crate. They're both on the blue crate.
Both there.
How can we stare this? I got. Popping a cell.
Just care behind, they don't drop down last second.
We gotta kill these guys. Yeah, we do. Popping cells. They're not gonna drop behind. Crack the bell.
I'm just spamming fences for now.
Nearly killed Crack.
Crypto's on.
Almost crack. Come back.
Just chill.
We gotta wipe them. We might have to Valkyrie.
I think we do have to Valkyrie. We should Valkyrie to noob.
We got a Valkyrie. As soon as you get that off. Yes, go.
Top three.
It's top 2. We came second.
It's okay. Fucking.
We just slam.
Oh my god, Moist come in at the end here with a Valkyrie that's managed to nab them
How gifted can they fucking get?
But DF, I mean, it was always theirs. They basically sat outside for as long as they needed to. They EMP'd when all the other teams were alive, and then just before they pop out of cover in that building, we see the rolling thunder come through, and there was, I mean, you can just see there was nothing else those teams could do. They were sitting underneath them. Grenades, 2 ultimates, 2 damaging ultimates come out and just absolutely tear through the rest of the lobby. Dreamfire with an unreal start here to our regional finals.
Yeah, I don't know how quickly we got out of the listen-in, whether that went through to broadcast or not, but I really did hear some choice words coming through from Moist. Right at the end there, when they were up in the sky, they were saying, how gifted can they get? And I think it did go through to the broadcast. So, it's good that you guys got to experience that alongside us. I mean, the end of the day, though, I think you got to be pretty happy with that. As Moist, they walk away with the 2nd place from the position they were in. They were fighting pretty hard. It was a difficult spot to play from. They had to come up from the low ground, and coming up from low ground in any battle royale is always going to be difficult. So, walking away with the 2nd. While they're not happy with it, as you can evidently tell, it's actually a pretty good result in my opinion, and it's going to get them in a solid spot. But Obviously, interesting to hear their thoughts as well on who they had to deal with and what they had to do to play that position.
Well, yeah, look, I've just gone to check some of the kills, Elfish, there. And, last game, right, Dreamfire, they played from God Spot. They managed to grab 4 kills from it, right? It was a little more, decent spot. This time, they get Countdown. They play from God Spot. They get 15 kills. It's a 27-point game from Dreamfire to start, off. Well, not to start off, but, almost to start off this series here in match point format. That's incredible on top of their finished last game. You were talking about, usually, the teams aren't going like back-to-back and grabbing big games where they can get to match point in 3 or 4 rounds. I don't know, man. That might not be the case here today. Dreamfire just popping off to start with. And when we think back to what that means in terms of the overall standings, Dreamfire can get through in the top 4. They are one of those teams that has a chance to do that, but it's very hard. Like, the maths need to go their way. They basically would have to get second, because obviously first is auto-qual. They'd have to get second and to have a lot of other teams sort of not perform well to have that happen. So really, they want to make sure of this, and they want to get first, and they are going about it the right way.
So it's going to have to be a bit of a Cinderella story for Dreamfire, but quite frankly, they are one of the teams that I believe could make that happen. They've always been the kind of a team that will go big or go home. They have massive games. They have massive days, and maybe they're lining up for another one of those. But hey, who knows? Have they used up all of their luck? Don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, that's World's Edge done and dusted for a little bit. Moving on to Stormpoint after that one, but placement timeline, of course, will show Dreamfire up there in first, Moist in second, Free Agents as a duo.
I know, right?
Have made it all the way through to third. And also kind of nice to see Bururam bouncing back. They didn't have a very great start to the day. They got knocked out, I think, with 0 points in game 1. They've been able to turn that around to 10 points after game 2, which, it still is leaving a bit to be desired if you're counting 10 points over 2 games as your only points. But either way, definitely getting the scoreboard ticking over. And speaking of, we can have a look actually at the scoreboard as to where teams are sitting. 40 points already for Dreamfire. So we had that discussion. Can it be done in 2? Can it be done in 3, 4, 5? How quickly are we going to get to match point? I theorize maybe game 5 or 6. Based on this updated information, you might have to go ahead and say game 3 or 4 is more likely for Dreamfire to get that one over the line and then start to look for the wins.
It is, right? Because you especially have to consider the Dreamfire are a team that almost never go down without a fight. They're usually wiping 1 or 2 teams a game, right? So, add a couple of placement points, and it's like, oh yeah, well, we're almost expecting them to get to match point in game 3 here. Even if they don't have a great game, they will be pushing that point total upwards, you would think. Look, as Moist may have said, they did get a little bit lucky in that last game. Even choosing that sort of that southwest quadrant to play from in Countdown is an interesting choice, but you can't blame them. It was the perfect read in the end. So look, they picked the circle to a T in the first 2 games. They have had their crosshairs trained exactly on the heads of everyone else in this lobby, and with 15 kills in that game too, they have put themselves well ahead of the competition here in our regional finals.
Well, how well are they going to be able to do that transitioning onto a new map as well? We've gone from World's Edge, now we're heading towards Stormpoint. If Dreamfire can keep this up, then we might be starting to talk about them potentially winning from game 4 onward. That's a discussion for a little bit, though. We have to take a short break. Don't go too far away. Stormpoint is coming up right after this.
Valkyrie actual, ready for burn.
Oh man, we're gonna get into Storm Point soon, Elfish. It's gonna be a good one, as classic custom moment there. Okay, all right. Well, look, we're 2 games in. Dreamfire are running away with the show right now. These guys have just absolutely put paid to everyone else in the lobby. Possibly going to get 1, 2, who knows how many games, honestly, where they are the only ones on match point as we move forward here. That's what it looked like at the start of the day, I think, where everyone started at 0. Dreamfire jumped up to 40 points after that. The other teams like 20 points behind them. I mean, Dewa, Moist, these guys sitting at 21, but that is a long, that's a far cry away from Dreamfire sitting up there at the top. And we know they have this pop-off potential, right? I mean, this is a team that we have seen dominate throughout Split 1. And even when you get to these top 20 lobbies where everyone in this lobby is a stone cold killer, Dreamfire still are one of the teams that you have to be scared of. Yeah, exactly. I think everyone else, honestly, but Dreamfire is really playing from behind the 8 ball now, basically. But hey, it's Storm Point now. It's a chance to change things up. Teams do perform differently on the different maps. Dreamfire, they are if you look at the stats up until today, Elfish, they were actually the team with the 3rd most average points on World's Edge, okay? But they're not in the top 5 when we move over to Storm Point. So teams like Boogie Boarders and EXO, they're sitting at that elite range there with like over 10 points on average on Storm Point. So we're expecting teams like them to start popping off when we swap the maps. Dewa are a team who really... they're the most consistent out of all of those top teams, actually, because they're sitting at 12 points on average on World's Edge. And then, 10 points, 9 points actually on Storm Point. So they're doing fantastic across the board. Some other teams, are a bit more of a specialist on one map or another.
Yeah, well, look, keeping an eye here on Moist Esports as we head into our 3rd game of the day. Definitely a team that has a harder run than some to make their way through to that international slot, but they've been doing pretty well today. They're sitting in 3rd place overall. And I guess, arguably it's equal 2nd. Just having a slightly worse placing overall than Dewa United in, an individual game is maybe going to bite them in the back a little bit. And I think the big thing for Moist today is going to be finding wins, right? They've been a team that has been consistently good this season. They've always been able to, top or get close to the top of their lobbies. But actually finding wins has been a little bit harder. And we know in the match point format, that is going to be something that's going to be an issue for them if it gets to that point, right? They do obviously need to get to the 50 points first, and then that discussion can start being had. So either way, something to consider. And, some things never change, even though the maps change. We are going to continue to head out toward the northwestern side of the zone. So it's funny that north side is directly in the center of the zone as we do head back up toward the north, but to be expected, I suppose. And now we get to see how Storm Point will play out, which I'm all for. I like to have a bit of variety in my life, and even Apex Legends maps are something that I enjoy that with. Although, I was very close to casting a tournament on Blood Moon, and I was a little bit concerned about that, but luckily that got changed back to World's Edge and Storm Point, so everything's all good there.
Would have been a little bit of fun trying trying out something new. We've seen there have been a couple of tournaments in NA and stuff actually where they have played a couple of maps of Blood Moon, but as far as its competitive pedigree goes, I don't think we'll be seeing it in ALGS for a little while yet. Rotations are coming through here in match 3. Moist, you know, they're going to be not happy about the fact that Dreamfire are doing well, by the way, because if you remember what we said earlier, they need one of the top 4 teams to grab that first place to really make it a lot easier for them to qualify. That or Boogie Borders to not do so well. And currently Boogie Borders are in 4th spot, and that is not far enough behind that if Moist got 2nd, they would grab that 5th place coming into LAN. So
yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it, right? It's one of those things that even though it doesn't feel like you've been doing too poorly during the regular season, maybe ending in sort of the position that they did, which was 5th overall, might not quite be enough. They're only 5 points behind Boogie Borders on the league points total, but it could get a little bit problematic if you know, even there is a gap of 5 points, and something that I think they will be pretty disappointed with. Moist Esports would consider themselves to be almost a shoo-in for any international spots that were available to APAC South, and if they don't get it, then yeah, they're going to really have some thinking to do. But there are more opportunities later on this year if it comes to that.
Yeah, there are.
I think enough of that discussion.
You know, look, yeah, we talked to Waltzy about it last week. If you guys heard that interview, they're feeling the pressure. You know, they are feeling a fair bit of pressure from, you know, this region to be the ones to carry the torch. And look, there's definitely some other teams who are going to be doing that here. Are they going to be one of them? Yeah, as you said, I guess we'll find out. We've had, you know, now we've moved over to Storm Point, of course. That means we do see some team composition changes. So our statistician Rice here has pulled some of those through from us. You know, Chicken Sandwich, they drop the Watson, they pick up the Seer here. 505, they drop the Loba, and they also pick up Seer, and then MDY have picked up Horizon over Crypto.
Yeah, a few little change-ups. It is something that we do tend to see map to map, team to team. Certain teams do prefer, or at least have some more comforts on a couple of the different legends that don't always get picked up. Team up, trying to breach this building.
Manuel on the inside.
A bit of an interesting fight to be making, especially considering EXO is also hanging around just at the exit of Command Center, so not too far away. I've done a good job of getting some damage down, but I'm a little bit surprised that they are playing this one as aggressively as they are. Xiao Kai just decided to take a 1vx and got beamed, but that is a good shot from the Mastiff coming on through. Is it enough to save the day? Emmanuel, well.
For now.
Yeah, get it
for
done.
a very small period of time, and then of course EXO, they pick their moment well, and they will push in and most likely clean up all of Emmanuel. It's just A-Flow left alive. He was doing some good work with the 30-30. He's going to try and make it to the gravity cannon, but unfortunately, it's just a little bit too far away. Golden Sage now, they're going to come in off the back of this. Unfortunately, the armor's on this side of EXO after cleaning all of that up and grabbing the death boxes. Ooh. Maybe a little bit too much for Golden Sage to handle. This would be a brave fight to take.
Yeah, there was an Arcstar tag in there onto Golden Sage as well. EXO were a little bit more prepared for Golden Sage than Emmanuel was for EXO, and straight up onto the roof goes Killer Pulse. There's going to be a contest up there from the rest of the squad. He does, though, end up getting beamed down. I think he was up there a little bit earlier, above or before Ziki and Dexter were able to get up, and so he was kind of the lone target that Golden Sage were looking for, and it's going to be difficult to get a res up on the roof here. Golden Sage, if they hear that res, they should just jump up as 3 and contest. It would end up being a 1v3. Great shots actually come through from Dexter, but now it's down to Ziki to try and clutch it out. 1-on-1. Ziki has to drop down onto the floor.
Well, Ziggy, he's getting an armor swap here. Mobius, he was thinking about going up top, but he gets griefed. It's free agents in with the clutch there, sort of, for Exo Clan, but I don't think they're going to come out of this. Free agents with the duo are going to come back in on top. They have managed to get one res, and Buriram, unfortunately, are also looking on. So Lala Bang with the scout from range could be a factor in this as well. Will they finish off some of these kills? They're going to take the gravity cannon that they were hoping, one of those earlier teams was hoping to grab there.
Was Ziki. Only Ziki
man.
got out. So Killer Pulse went down, he got res, he went down. Dexter was down well and truly and never even got revived. Unfortunately for Ziki, even though he's gotten out, he didn't get either of the banners. So he's going to have to play this out as a solo. I don't know if that's worth it, to be quite honest with you, Genome, right? They get 3 kill points out of it. But that... Oh, is he going back?
Oh, well, he's actually going for the banners.
He's being,
he's
being chased as well. There was another team on the other side, so he's going for the banners. But there's another team on the other side of that gravity cannon that, like, where does he go?
Yeah, he grabs one, and he's trying to get out, but he's got Belkun and Lahim hot on his heels right now. Of course, it's a Watson player for Ziki. He's got no movement, so it's really just how well he can bounce down this hill away from them and use the terrain. I don't know how long he's going to be able to stay alive. He maybe find some cover inside of Cascade Falls here. But look, Benny Hill music is playing. The shots actually don't hit from the Havoc here.
How far do you actually want to chase if you're free agents here? Because the longer you spend chasing this, the more likely you're to run into another team. And I can tell you from having a look at the minimap, MDY is hanging around. If they hear shots, MDY is going to be the kind of team that's going to be interested in a fight.
Oh, that's enough.
That's
enough
gone past
to scare
each other
free
like
agents
ships
off
in the night. And indeed,
free agents, they slowed down just a little bit when they heard that. Because MDY heard the shots coming through, and that's why they were pulling up north, so Ziki does get away.
Yeah. Well, lucky for him, he's been able to do that. He can still potentially revive Dexter. Maybe he can go down into Jurassic Park to get that res. Not sure. We'll have to see if he's going to be allowed to do so, but he does have the time. I mean, yes, zone moving in 15 seconds, but if he just jumps in there, gets the revive and books it, maybe Dexter can find a way to meet up with him at some point.
Yep, look, there's definitely a chance. I think he's going down to Jurassic Park. It feels like there should be room there for that to happen. Oh, sorry. Because, yeah, look, you've got free agents and MDY way further up. They're just sort of, pussyfooting around each other over at Cascade Falls there at the moment. So, yeah, look, but it must be said, right, Exo, another rough game where they've tried to take an engagement early and just haven't read the surroundings and the situation correctly. And unfortunately, they're paying the price for that. Exo, one of the teams that... and look, they don't have to do amazingly to get through Elfish. That's the other thing, right? They just have to have a solid day.
Well, I don't know what your definition of a solid day is, but I'm not sure that Exo is doing enough to have a solid day. I mean, 9th position, I guess that's okay, but I'd probably be wanting to see a little bit more from them if they were to take that spot. So we'll have to wait and see what they're going to be able to get done. 505 have dealt with free agents, and they'll be able to get themselves a couple of pieces of free loot.
Oh, okay, MZ White popping the Beast of the Hunt, and they're chasing after 505. Forgotten. He's down already. Mexus and Surprisey, they're both in the zone. You can see them hesitating. Are they going to go back in and try and help out the teammate? Or do they make the long rotation around through the wall here and leave him for dead? It feels like it's going to be the latter.
Yeah, you're going to have to at this point. You really can't be trying to take a 2-on-3 fight, and MDY are more than happy to just sit there and kind of gatekeep for the moment. They know that they're going to be late into the zone regardless of the fact, so may as well just play edge, see if they can pick up another couple of kill points here and there. Either way, I mean, zone shift has gone hard to the north again, and just by the looks of things with the teams that have the info on the next ring pool, it's going to stay fairly northern one more time. So those trenches and the little pods that you can see around this area of the map that are always, I find a little bit difficult to play, are going to be kind of the premium positions. I don't know what your feelings are on this area of the map, but I find this one is a very messy area where it's kind of hard sometimes to get a read on where all your opponents are and the angles that they're holding.
Yeah, it can be very tough. We're going back over to MDY, who You can see just trying to move through this choke. Most of the teams, however, are in that system that you saw over there outside North Pad. Boogie Board is actually getting the pull here. An interesting one. This one's gone a lot more central. And that means that, yeah, look, it's definitely favoring Boogie Board, as you see Dreamfire, who have actually just been eliminated. They were down to 2. They couldn't weather the storm there between Ant and Moist. Yeah, look, everyone's going to be sort of forced into the middle there, and you're going to have this weird situation where the trenches do offer you a lot of cover, but they also don't give you the high ground, and people can, you know, survive up there sometimes. Wow, Moist eliminating another team. So that's Ant down as well.
Yeah, they're still not going to have an easy run into the zone, Moist. They're going to have to go through Chicken Sandwich if they continue in the trajectory that they are, so we'll keep that in mind. Primus Commander in an engagement against Northside Esport, who are still in their drop location. Northside like to drop near checkpoint, and they haven't really had to move, but now they are being contested for it by PK, and so far that fight's gone quite well for them. They've dealt with Hay, and so it'll be a 2-on-3 now that they do have to negotiate. Bugie and Crusader on the other side trying to salvage things. Doors opened up, and that is not a good timing for the door to be opened. Crusader and Boogie both down, and so Primus Commander is out of the picture, and Northside maintain control of checkpoint.
Yeah, a couple of the roller players going out. We don't have as many of them here in APAC South, but Primus Commander home to a couple who aren't going to make it any further here in Game 3. So as you said, checkpoint still is the place to be for the moment for Northside Esports. They will have to move out eventually. There's not a lot of info here for these crypto teams that we've got in the lobby today, though, Elfish. You know, there's a beacon over towards Northpad, so if you've got a crypto up there, you might be able to get that info. Players like Chicken Sandwich have managed to do that as well. Oh no, Exo's still there with a duo. Popcorn don't have a... Yeah, actually, a lot of the teams that have the crypto not actually that far towards that. So it might actually just be Chicken Sandwich here who have the knowledge.
Yeah, not too many teams are going to be able to get that. Obviously, you need to be a crypto team. You need to be close to that edge of the zone. So still, it's not exactly going to be the most egregious of shifts. It's going to be playable for most teams. I think it's going to be fine. MDY getting a nice little arc star tag there. But Yuling sitting inside of a Thermite nade is going to go down pretty quick. Smart still. There are a couple of trades back on in, and Northside, maybe they not quite had too much difficulty.
Wow.
Killmeat, he's able to get one of the members back on up. There is a respawn beacon here in checkpoint as well, so if they're quick,
I think they
will get all 3 back up.
Because Popcorn is the closest team to them, but they're playing all the way down the bottom of that big zip that goes down from checkpoint to the low ground. They're looking at this. They're thinking about it, but it's a weird rotation. They probably expose themselves to too many other people if they went up there. So I think Northside, yeah, they repelled the second team and will be fine. But what about Buriram? Are they going to be okay? It doesn't look like it. Truth is demolishing them here in this fight.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to last long either. Although with that said, there is at least a bit of a trade, but not enough at all. Quick res onto Mosu. And so Truth will be back to 3 strong as well. But they've got some more things to worry about. Bigger fish to fry, because in 30 seconds they're going to have to move. And they're going to have to run right at Boogie Borders by the looks of things. There's really not a lot of cover on the cross that they've got.
Exo just trying to play the edge of one of the trenches here. I like that spot for them, but it's going to be tough. They've got Popcorn on one side, Moist on the other, and I dare say they're going to start taking some shots from them once this next circle is finished closing. As you can see, yeah, that is why it's a good spot. It's within the next circle, but, oh, man, it's really going to throw these other teams right up against them. Chicken Sandwich, as we said, they were the ones who had that the zone scan. They had that info, so they're playing that north side, and they're going to be a fantastic spot because they can sort of peek over when they choose to from the north side, and they probably won't have anyone looking right directly on top of them.
On the move right now with that Skyward Dive. I'm quite interested to see where they come in. I don't think there's that many positions for them to really play here. They're just going to have to send it into the trench, you'd have to expect, and that'll be where they do end up. It kind of restricts the avenues of access further for Truth, who are coming down from the southern side of the map. And Boogie Boarders really don't want them to be in that trench. And the issue with sometimes getting in this trench is that you've kind of funneled yourself and turned yourself into a bit of a fish in a barrel type situation, and that's exactly what Boogie Boarders is hoping to exploit at the moment. They're all hiding behind those pylons. We'll move over back to Truth, who are working their way through the southern side of the map and now moving out toward the west, and they're trying to capitalize on the same kind of a scenario against EXO.
Yeah, they do a good job there. They clean out Popcorn, but EXO, usually maybe you'd be expecting them to take part in that fight as well, but as a duo, they can't. They have to hold back. Look, it's starting to net them some placement points here. Boogie Boarders, who we said they really needed to come back there on top of Northside, who are really struggling to get out of this situation, but they've just been forced out of this by Chicken Sandwich. So they are, just really putting the sandwich in their name right now, are going to come in and push Boogie Boarders almost completely out. There you go. They're done. Northside, they had the gold res shield, actually. That just enabled them to get out of this fight, but I don't know for how long, because Truth have moved back towards them.
Northside Esports, given a brief moment of respite. It's going to be a little difficult for them. They're sort of stuck in a bit of a sandwich. They are the ham in the sandwich, and unfortunately you never want to be the ham. Speaking of which, Chicken Sandwich are actually one of the pieces of bread on one side of this engagement. So they're the rock or the hard place. Take your pick. It doesn't really look very good here for Northside at all. They're going to try to go across that road, but Chicken Sandwich are able to farm them. And even if they got across the road, EXO was there waiting for them. So Northside had nowhere to go.
Incredible that EXO have managed to pull out a third place at the least in this with a duo when you consider, how much trouble they were in at the start of the game when we saw them take those fight after fight after fight. Moist have played this out very well. They were sitting in, third spot? 21 points coming into this. Now they are in a fantastic position. It feels like Chicken Sandwich are probably going to struggle to get any better than third here. Maybe if they get the help from one of these teams. But Panna, he's already been put down.
Not good to see. It's going to be difficult to get the res at this point in the game, but they do at least have a rock to work with, so there is going to be maybe just enough room for the res to come through, and indeed that'll be secured.
With the gold res shield as well.
Yeah, exactly. So a little bit of an extra helping hand on that reset for Chicken Sandwich. Moista, I think, controlling this zone better than anyone, though. They have a really good firing position to work from. Look at all the fences that Pricey's been able to set up. They are debatably more central than anyone else, although there's not a whole lot of an argument to be made there. But I think they've got the best firing angles, and so I'll give it to them for the moment.
Yeah, and they've worked that out, right? They rotated further and further, behind that rock, not only for cover, but to push both Chicken Sandwich and EXO together. And now that they're right next to each other, about, 10 or so seconds into this next circle closing, they're going to run into each other, and Moist are going to be very, very happy about that. So they just need to keep throwing out the damage right now. You can see Waltzy keeps popping that missile swarm, and he's hitting his targets with that. So as long as they can stay healthy in the very early parts of this next circle, I think Moist should be coming out on top here. But Chicken Sandwich, certainly going to be looking to make this good. Here we go. Now they've spotted out. It's only a duo. They're just going to push straight in on EXO.
Yeah, really good shots in there from Panna, but the unfortunate reality for EXO is going to be that as soon as they make that move, Moist are going to push their way in as well. Empty, able to hit everything with the drone, with the EMP, and it makes for a really easy wipe for Moist. Very well played toward the back end there. I mean, they've gone from second now to first, so after, maybe struggling a little bit in that last game, right toward the end and ultimately losing it to Dreamfire, they have made good on their promise, and they have gone from strength to strength today, and they are once again going to be putting themselves in pole position to walk away with a good placement today, Genome. I don't know if that's going to be quite enough to get them over the line to 50 points. They came in at, I think, something like 21, so probably going to need another game from them to get into the match point territory, but you have to also say, in that regard, Dreamfire didn't do enough in that game either. Dreamfire went out early, so Moist have that going for them. It's overall a good sort of net negative for Dreamfire, net positive for Moist, and that's going to equalize them a little bit and bring them very close to one another in that probably first and second position for today.
Yeah, we talked about Dreamfire, rarely going out without grabbing, a couple of kills, something like that. This was one of those rare games where that happens. They grab one placement point, that's it. So they'll be moving up to 42. As you said, Moist Esports playing it fantastically. They've gone up to 5 kills as well as the win. Chicken Sandwich, we talked about them being a team who just picks up points, so many points when they're playing on World's Edge. Less so on Storm Point, but here they grab the 10 kills. Northside Esports also picking up 11. I guess the other thing that we should talk about here, though, is the fact that we are seeing Moist Esports playing the crypto here, Elfish. And I was having a bit of a chat to MT earlier in the season when they were struggling against some of these other teams. And he was saying, it's so hard to go up against compositions where they've got, the Bangalores and the Bloodhounds, the Horizons, all of these very aggressive heroes. And I was like, I don't know, why go, what about the crypto? Why not try and pull that out instead of the Seer if you're just getting your Seer ultimates EMP'd all the time? And it's really cool to see that they're trying this out. He said it was more likely to come out on Storm Point than it was to come out on World's Edge, just because they play from Lava Siphon. There's not really any other beacons around, and therefore it's really hard to get the scan if you don't get the beacon dropping on in Siphon, whereas from Cascades you do have some other options to get that info. So not only is it useful for information at the start of the game, but as you're seeing here, it gives them extra attacking options where they can just lock down this other team as soon as they realize the fight's happening. They use that EMP to stun them, and they're sitting ducks at that point for Moist Esports.
Yeah, everything worked out in the end game for Moist. This final fight, very easy for them to convert, and it's nice to see them getting that success, getting that win on the board. But, you do also have that element in the back of your mind of, I don't think many teams are going to be able to find 2 wins in a day. A lot of the time, you see 1 or maybe 2, but you don't want to be using your win at the wrong time. I know it's a bit of a fallacy. It's not actually correct to speak about it in that capacity, but I always wonder, I'm always like, look, if you get your win before you get to 50 points, is that a bit of a curse? Is it a bit of a voodoo, right? That you've used up all your wins in the time where you don't really need it? Hopefully not the case for Moist.
And if you want to talk about curses, I mean, back when Moist would call Team Burger, right? Yeah. This was the team that won on 49 points. Okay, this is the team that had back-to-back wins.
Back-to-back wins, yep.
That got them past match
They won,
point.
Got to 49 points, and then won again, and went way above 50. But if they would have gotten one more kill previous to that point, they would have just won the day then and there, and then they didn't find another win for the rest of the day. So that is exactly what I'm talking about. Don't use your wins when you don't need them, technically speaking. Yep. So, I mean, look, it is what it is. Let's have a look at the scoreboard first, and then, we can get into a bit more of a discussion around how things are playing out. But as we said, no one yet hitting 50 points. Sort of thought it would come this game for Dreamfire the way they were playing, but maybe we'll have to wait till next game. I think there is a world, definitely, where we don't even get it out of Game 4. Maybe we have to wait until Game 5 for someone to end up hitting 50 points, but starting to see a couple of teams get close.
Definitely pushing up, yeah. Chicken Sandwich there with the swagger kills there in Game 3. Certainly pushed themselves up as well as the win from Moist. Now, remember, we were talking a little bit about how many teams, how many wins these teams have had just in a lobby throughout the season. This is only Moist's 3rd win for the entire season. They're actually sitting below a lot of other top teams in terms of wins that they take out. They're very good at being consistent. They're very good at picking picking up those wins. But yeah, look, this is one of their few that they've actually had so far.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're going to be a team that we would have expected more wins from this season, to be quite honest. So maybe they're sort of keeping them in reserve and they're peaking at the right time. We will follow along with them as they go through the day and see where they end up. But, other teams to mention, Chicken Sandwich, EXO have both sort of been plugging away. EXO jumped from 9th to 4th off of that game. They're still not quite up to the halfway point of getting to the 50-point mark. But, they're doing better than most. And I know we go back and we talk about the history, and again, the history of these match point formats has been a lot of the time the team that gets to match point first doesn't necessarily actually convert it so quickly. It does take 2, 3, 4, 5 games beyond that fact for someone to actually, once we've got 8 teams maybe on match point, for someone to actually win. It's very difficult to basically do it straight away. So I think there's still lots of time left today. I think there's plenty of opportunities still for teams to get away with at least getting to the match point position we'll have to keep an eye on how things are going to play out. It's time for another break. We do have one more Storm Point coming right up. Don't go too far away. We'll be back very soon for more Apex from the ALGS APAC South.
First is looting, but then comes my favorite part, the screaming. I plan on getting under your skin.
I'll break your heart, and then I'll break everything else.
Hello, welcome back. This is now game number 4 of the APAC South playoffs as we head into what might be the final one before we start talking about the match point format a little bit more. Just in a big win from Moist Esports, who, they went second and then they've gone first as well, Gino, and they're putting together a pretty good day. I know they've got a lot of supporters. I think there's a Moist viewing party going on at the moment as well. So shout out to everyone over there watching along. Hope you're enjoying the show and hope you're enjoying the performance from your team. But look, they need to do more, Gino. We know we've spoken about it at the start of the day. They've got a little bit more work to do. It's not as simple as performing well today. It maybe almost comes down to winning today.
Yeah, it could. The other opportunity for Moist to get ahead is sort of that fight for the 4th spot with Boogie Borders. Now, Boogie Borders came in today with 5 more split standing points than Moist Esports. What that means is if Boogie Borders can get 3rd or higher, they are guaranteed to go through to LAN. So look, let's we'll get some vision about how well Moist have done throughout this season, and I'll just take you through some of the scenarios there as we do that. So Boogie Boarders, they need to get 3rd or higher, but for Moist, if Boogie Boarders don't have as good of a day, let's say, okay, so if they get first, they auto-qual. That's just the same for every team, right? You get first, you go to LAN. But if they're getting anything else, so let's say Moist ended up with a 2nd today, Boogie Boarders would have to get 6th or lower for Moist to get ahead there. Because you've got to be 5 points ahead. Now, there's a couple of breaks at the top of the split standings, right? Like if you come 2nd, you get 21 points, and then it drops down to 18 and 16 after that. But below that, it's just 1 point gaps between, every position as you go all the way down to 20th. So, they really would need to have a phenomenal performance come 2nd, and then have Boogie Boarders do a little bit worse than them at, say, 6th onwards, if Moist are looking to grab one of those qualification spots.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, it doesn't make for the easiest of days, but sometimes you can't really overthink all of that. I think you do have to come into this as a team and as a player and really just be focusing on what you can do. We know Moist is a really good team. The best they can provide is probably winning this lobby, and that's going to be enough, right? They're more than capable of doing that. I don't think it would be any surprise to anyone to see them winning the match point format today. And they've got off to a good start, right? They're sitting in 2nd place overall at the moment, just a couple of points behind Dreamfire, but very real possibility that both those teams are able to hit the match point off of this game. It would be 9 points for Dreamfire, 12 for Moist. Chicken Sandwich is the next closest on 31, but you're looking for 19 points from them. So that starts to then become like a really good game required. A win and 7 kills or something like that to get it over the line to push yourself through to match point. So if we're really being honest about it, I think we're looking for probably just 2 teams making it through to the match point off of this game. Maybe none though. Let's have a look and see how things are going to play out as we jump into Storm Point for the 2nd time today. And we will get a bit of an insight as to where we're going to be headed once we get back over to World's Edge.
Yeah, and look, if you're interested in some of the maths behind that, I did tweet out a bit of a breakdown about that. So go check out my Twitter, and you can see how that looks. So essentially, it's for Chicken Sandwich, they need to get 13th or higher, and they guarantee themselves to go through. Dewa, it's 11th or higher, they guarantee themselves, and then it's a bit harder for EXO, they need to get 5th, but they can't. They are currently sitting in 4th spot, so they're on track for that, and then Boogie Boarders would need to get 3rd to guarantee one of those top 4 spots. For everyone else, there's Moist, Dreamfire, Buriram. They've got some chances to grab those spots, but it's a little bit harder. And then, as we mentioned at the end of the day, the other 13 teams, they have to get first if they want to go to LAN.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I didn't do any of those breakdowns, but check out my Twitter too. I really appreciate that. Either way, let's have a look and see how T4 is going to go about things as they kick off their looting. I mean, not really a whole lot to talk about at the start of the game like this. We'll have to sort of wait and see how that zone's going to be shaping up. It goes, again, a little bit back toward the north, maybe not quite as far out toward the west this time. Northside Esport not copping as much of a feed. You can see Moist, who drop in toward Cascade Falls, are going to be quite pleased with that one. Truth Esports as well. And Team Up, the 4 teams that are inside of the 2nd ring and won't have to do too much moving and shaking. But a bit of a difficult one to call, maybe, where you want to be ending up here. Because there's every possibility it could still split quite hard out in one direction.
Yeah, this one, I'm expecting teams to be trying to play those chokes pretty hard. You've seen I think the better teams tend to sort of sit on those positions, and with Moist, of course, having that central location at Cascade Falls, it gives them a fantastic opportunity to pull up into one of those. Of course, they've dropped the Seer. They haven't dropped the Watson in the comp change that we've seen here for them, which means they still can very effectively hold these spots with Pricey setting up those fences. Now, Northside, they don't opt to sit in checkpoint this time because, Northside, they are going to sit closer towards the IMC Armory. That's, of course, where Truth Esports starts. That's if we go back to that beacon that we looked at the start of the day, Elfish, Truth, you know, they were landing at North Pad, but because Ant are taking that at the moment, Truth have moved just slightly over to the IMC, and you can see that's already causing issues for some of the teams down here with Dreamfire once again having a rough start.
Yeah, that's really not good for them at all, is it? Roy is going to be the last man standing. Doesn't have the banner. And is just going to have to get out of there and try to survive. I think you look at that and you have to say, well, if Roy has to play the rest of the game out as a solo, they're not going to be getting to 50 points off this game. You'd have to see the rattiest of all rat jobs to get 9 points out of a game as a solo if you're doing it from day dot. He might be able to get it done, but we'll have to keep an eye on it for sure. Hems will be finished off by Kentung. So, yeah, look, World's Edge was quite kind to Dreamfire, but Stormpoint so far has not been.
No, the stats kind of reflected that. As we mentioned, they do tend to be a little bit better over on World's Edge, but you're not expecting them to be this bad. You're not expecting them to struggle this much, and, you know, it often is the Bangalore that gets away because of the Bangalore passive, but you almost kind of wish it was the Crypto that did, because then Pete could have run in with a drone to grab the banners.
Good shots coming in through here from Truth Esports. Popcorn does get eliminated.
Again, early.
Yeah, they'll have to be a little bit wary, though, because there are a lot of teams actually hanging around.
Oh, my God.
You can see Ant have got themselves in an engagement. Chicken Sandwich also go out.
Yeah, that was a little bit up north towards the 3 oranges. They got taken out by 2 MK, 1 pad, with Emmanuel looking on and helping out. They just got caught in the crossfire a little bit too much there. And then Emmanuel, they decide to go in and finish things off. So that's going to be most of the team up done now. Only the 1 player left up.
Not really very fun. Manuel still looking to clear this one out. They know exactly where that player is hiding, and there's really not a whole lot you can do in a 3v1 in this game, I find. So it's going to be the end of T-Mop. And the Oranges now in control of Emmanuel. Lahim and Belkin hanging around as well. Just a duo again for free agents. Yeah, I think if you're going to take any day to have a player unable to play, it would not be today. But sometimes it is what it is.
Yeah, very unfortunate for them. I mean, there's something special about match point days where I swear, like, the thing that needs to happen to, like, make the games go on longer, like, always happens. And with Chicken Sandwich and Dreamfire going down low here, towards the end of this day. I mean, Roy, he didn't manage to get either of those banners, by the way. They're both grayed out, so as you said, he will be ratting, which is going to be tough. But yeah, on top of that, Chicken Sandwich being eliminated completely. So that's 2 of the teams already that could have been moving on to match point, going down pretty early. Now it's kind of up to Moist, really, to make that next move. But wow, it's crazy how often that happens, that a team will do amazingly here as MTY White, yeah, just grabs the angle there onto Dewa, who, you know, they started off decently, but seem to be a little bit more scuffed in their performances since then. Yeah,
Feiju has just beamed a couple of players out of the server. I think Golden Sage is also just hanging around on the back side of this fight as well, so unlikely to go well. MZY beginning to push the issue there. Feiju wanting to really get into the thick of things and confirm those points. Got to be wary of the spiders crawling around too.
They find Easy Flash as well, so that's the complete squad wipe for them. Not only do they get Dewa, they also grab the spiders as well, so kind of a bit of a double win there for MDY. Oh, no, sorry. Oh, Bastion's still alive. Who's he sneaking off to?
Yeah, he's...
oh, right. Just back up on top of the Cascade Falls.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, I think the points sort of still stands, right? It's not a complete wipe for Dewa, but their game is more or less over at this point. You're probably a little bit too late in the game to be getting those banners and then looking for a revive. If you had the banners right now, you might be able to work your way southward and see if you can find an open respawn beacon, but I think getting the banners to begin with is going to be enough of a task that it's probably not worth it for Dewa at this stage.
Moist, they've MT has on the crypto there has just grabbed the next zone information. It is very much going on this sort of IMC North Pad landing location. That means where Emmanuel in the oranges cleared up a couple of those kills, they're actually going to be in a fantastic spot. You can imagine that all 3 of those oranges are going to start seeing some higher occupancy rate very, very soon.
All right, well, keeping a good eye on Moist at the moment. Definitely a pertinent team to be touching on. Slow and Steady wins the race, I think, is the name of the game here for Moist. They know that they don't have to put too much on the board in this game. They just need to get to 50. It doesn't need to be a win. It doesn't need to be the world's best game. In fact, they would hope it's not. They want the world's best game next game after they've hit 50 points so they don't suffer from that same curse once again. But, well, look, EXO as well. They're up there. They're definitely a team that I think we can be quite excited about today. If they can do similar to what they did last game, get another high placement, they're going to probably go into the next feeling like they're one game away from the match point as well.
Well, they played it a little bit differently. They actually stayed late to get the scan over at Stormcatcher. So they know where this next ring is going, but they are quite far away from it, and they're looking to fight their way in. So as you can see, it's MDY White in front of them at the edge of Command Center here, just waiting outside, and they might have to wait to try and get through those Bangalore smokes to get their Elfish. That said, I will note, the Digi threat is in the Crafter today. That's an important point here. It means, you know, a team like EXO that went through Stormcatcher would have had the ability to craft some of those up if you want. And I can tell you, Killerpos is running 1 on the car. Zicky's running 1 on his car. And guess what? Make it 3. Dexter's got a Digi-threat on his car as well. So they are ready for these bang smokes, Elfish. And that is just one of the intricacies, one of the beauties of Apex Legends here. Sometimes, you know, it's the Turbo Day. Sometimes it's Digi-threat Day. These make a big difference on how these teams actually play these out.
Very interesting point, and certainly something to keep an eye on, especially if you are a Bangalore team and you're expecting those smokes to provide any semblance of cover. Watching And Esports Club right now. Was that a Kraber that I just saw? I think it might have been. It's not going to be a committed fight here from either team. At least I would say neither team actually wants a committed fight. They're both inside of the next ring. So it's more about establishing and holding your position rather than trying to dispatch of your opponent. EXO are on the rotate through. They're going to have to go up by the wall once again.
Yeah, well, they've got the zone information, and they know that they can actually play under the gravity launcher, right? So, you know, EXO Clan, they're going to sit in this building for the moment. They know that if they push further into the wall, they will actually have safety and then either be able to take a Valcourt out later or even the gravity cannon if they want to do that. Probably a bit of a riskier play. You don't have as much directional control when you do that. We're starting to say this, as I said, these oranges are going to become hot properties soon. So that's 505. They're the second team to make their way into there. Because, of course, they have also, via Forgotten's drone, got the information that this circle is most likely going to be shifting to the northwest.
Well, the beautiful oranges. And that is an EMP that is not going to do anything. Unceremoniously taken out of the picture as well there. So, Emmanuel, they're set up really nicely. You'd love to be in their position right now. I think if you're sitting right here, even though there's 16 teams still alive, you're looking at that and saying, we're a Watson team. We know where this next ring is going to go more or less. We are getting a high placing here. Unless someone really does something dumb and just sends it at us and somehow we lose that fight.
Which I'm sure will happen at some point, right? Because like the teams will have nowhere else to go at some point. So that probably will happen. Ooh, as you can see there, it's okay. So yeah, not all of the oranges will be within the next zone. It's only actually no, they're all going to have a little bit. They're all going to have a tiny bit of area. So, but it's really that one that Emmanuel set up with on the western side there. That's going to be. That's going to be the best one to play from. That said, we even saw those death boxes in the entryways there, and I've got to say that's actually a good defensive tool. Like having those around, like it actually makes it significantly harder to just bum rush a team and get it in there if you have to, you know, jump and crouch and get over those death boxes. So that's actually a nice little way. You know, not that they can really control that, but it does actually help them get through. We're having a look at, and speaking about that, they've got the pylon in the hallway as well, and you can see that also, unless you're shooting it down, also inhibits mobility around these oranges.
Poor old Chambers can't even get up the stairs. But all good in the end. MDY White, a little bit concerned about what's going on at the wall. EXO was there a little earlier. I'm not sure where they've ended up, whether they've moved on or if they're still hanging around. There's Roy from Dreamfire, as we can see from the observers, showing us how he's going. Quite an important point for us to keep an eye on. That in particular, if Dreamfire don't get any points out of this game, they're not going to be any closer to getting to match point. Like I said, I don't expect them to be doing it off of this game. There's an Arc Star. And Bugi just about gets away from it, but... well, you're not getting away from that. So, Famous Commander eliminated pretty early on in the piece again. Boogie Boarders have set up shop in the trenches, and they're looking good and healthy.
Yeah, and with it's not as much trench warfare here in this circle. Boogie Boarders really going to be the only ones probably playing around there, but they've got a good overlook for the rest of sort of where this goes. So yeah, I like that. I like the position they're going to be playing from. MDY White, you can see they're back over towards the wall. They're fighting it out with EXO at the moment, and they've actually managed to get Dexter down. I don't know if they got caught off by guard here, but this is not looking great for EXO.
Ooh, it's been a trade 1-for-1. Ziki, though, also falling, is now going to put this into an awkward spot. And EXO out early again, so after putting together a decent game last game, they're not really going to be able to capitalize upon that. Free agents who were in control of one of the oranges have actually moved their way back up into the wall. That's going to be a really nicely timed EMP to stop any thought of a push from MDY White. But I like the way, actually, that free agents have played this. They have recognized that the oranges were probably going to be a bit too much to hold down as a duo, so they've moved to a weaker position, but still being able to get something out of it. Either way, lots of fighting going on around the map now as that ring does start to pull in.
Yeah, actually, free agents have just used all their utility just to try and make sure this team doesn't come through. And MDY White did lose one of their members there. And then we saw, just was seeing some damage getting traded over here towards the oranges. Free agents were essentially trading multiple ultimate accelerants to try and get the EMP back online for a second go at that. They were trading, thermites because they know the only way they can get through is through the door. There's no way they could get in through the top there. But they have successfully repelled MDY White, it looks. And as you can see, they're taking the other route. And they're going to be coming up against Moist Esports, who are actually just doing a little bit of looting in the zone at the moment. And so once Waltzy gets his medkit back up, well, Feiju went down. I guess they mismanaged, because I'm pretty sure there's no one firing at them. So I think that was just mismanaging his meds there and doesn't get it off in time, which means it'll only be Mingyue. And Moist Esports, thinking that nobody could even come through this late, have actually given up that spot. And he may be able to creep into Rat now.
Still, Ratting with 11 squads left. Doesn't feel like it's going to be very easy for him. And, you say Moist have given up the position, which is true, but they will still have vision on that ramp. You're still going to have to get past them in some way, shape, or form. So I'm not sure that's going to be particularly easy. I'm sure Pricey's keeping an eye on things.
Truth set up inside the IMC Armory. This is a great spot for them. It will be within the next circle. They, of course, started there, upgraded all their armors in there, had plenty of ammo, because you get so much just completing that PvE round that they've been able to stay in here and been totally fine until this next circle. So it's certainly a good pull for Truth.
Holiday, Crave up, 6 shots in the weapon still. Be a bit of a concern for anyone running into him. Northside Esport also need to be a little bit careful up on top of this armory. You are sort of putting a beacon on your head saying, please shoot me, to all of the teams around the place. So far that hasn't eventuated, but you're going to see the bombardment coming down from the Bangalore, which is going to force them off the roof. There's Roy as well, by the way, just hanging around. he just wants to be involved.
And, they get right behind him, but he actually sneaks up on Emil, and he's going to grab the kill as well. He finishes it off. So Roy from Dreamfire here goes completely unnoticed by Northside, and now that is going to help Truth Esports, who were having a little bit of trouble, and get some death boxes delivered straight to them.
Oh, the name! What?
No way.
He's got the
no
knock
way
on
he
the
gets the finish.
Boogie
And he's going to
Borders is
get
out.
the kill from it as well. He just got 2 kills in the last, like, 15 seconds. Unreal here. We were saying the what was it, the 8-9 points that they need wasn't doable. But, oh, Nutsuru-sama spots him out. I think they realized it is a solo now, and they're going to go after him.
Yeah.
That said, 7th place, so that's 3 points, I believe, placement. They'll get 5. Yeah, I don't think they'll make it to match point.
Not quite, but still a good individual effort from Roy to get them a couple of steps closer. Emmanuel have been eliminated, and esports, they're in trouble at the moment. And look, Moist have taken control of the orange that Emmanuel was occupying before. It's not going to be the position they need to be in, but it is a position they can use to push forward. Buriram, one of their close competitors, taken out at their hands. This is a big game in the making for Moist, and I don't know if they've done enough to get to 50 points just yet, but they're getting mighty close if they haven't done it already. And I think if they survive any longer, then they will be the first team on to match point. And heading into next game, that is going to be problems for everyone else involved.
Okay, 4 squads left. Elfish, one of them is a rat in Holiday. And then 505 here, rapidly getting sent on by Truth Esports. Moist Esports are looking on with anticipation. They know if this fight goes down, they can think about pushing it in. They might have actually gone too fast. They're not going to go for the solo. They're not sure where that is. They want to try and get this fight happening, but Truth actually won it so well that they've still got plenty of health and shields in reserve.
Oh, good shots coming through there from Pricey and Waltzy. He's the kind of player that's going to be able to capitalize on that. One of the best fraggers in the region, and certainly the top fragger on the team. He is a controller player. You know what that means. He's going to be sent forward and just beam exactly like that. There goes one more member and one more team. Holiday from Ant out of the picture. It's just the 2 remaining squads now. Moist looking for back-to-back. And Truth trying to find their first win for the day. But I got to be honest with you, Genome, I really don't think it matters too much for Moist if they get the win here or not. They should have enough points to get to 50 now, and that's all they need to focus on.
Well, they don't have the EMP, and they put themselves in an awkward position trying to chase that last kill down onto Holiday. So can they make it back? After this, not many ultimates available for both teams, honestly. Pretty much just Beast of the Hunt for Mosu. He's got 10 seconds left on that, unless he can confirm some kills and start to can keep going there. Now, we don't have the crypto ult available, as I said, so if Truth Esports keep going here, it feels like they've got a good point to keep pushing on here and take out Moist.
Oh, I was a bit worried for a second there that Waltzy didn't have any flash meds, but it looks like he's been tossed some, or he found some and got given enough time to put them on. I guess looking at this, you'd probably make the argument that Truth is in a bit of a better position right now than what Moist is. Bangalore ult's going to come down as well, and that's going to be another bit of a problem for Moist. Doesn't really cause too many problems. Drone, though, we've been mentioning it, is now going to be available for empty. The ultimate, at the very least, is pretty much ready to go. So, for Moist, that'll be something that they can play around. I just don't know if they've got the time here to use that zone. Well, it's not really right at their back, so maybe they can play around with it a little bit.
I mean, both teams have been waiting for these ultimates to come down, and now we've got the Rolling Thunder going up against the EMP, unless they can snipe the drone, I guess. But here it goes. He pops the EMP now. We'll see what happens in this final fight.
Well, it's only really connected onto Mosu there, I think. I don't reckon the rest of the Truth members are particularly under the pump. Smokes have gone down, and we're talking about the Digi threats earlier on. And look at how big of a difference that is making. Truth have a couple of them to work with. I don't know if Moist has a single digital threat, which is going to make playing around these smokes so dangerous. They're trying to use that high ground here, Moist. MT goes down. Saiyajin God gets the initial knock, and that's going to be the floodgates opening. Waltzy to trade 2 back, but it's not. Oh, it is enough! How? How have they won that, Moist, from a player deficit? Waltzy comes up with a big couple of frags. I'm not sure if he even got that third one through there as well. But seeing as we are watching the Valkyrie POV, I might take a guess that it was him to find all 3. Either way, back to back from Moist, and they are without a doubt now going to be the first team on to match point. It feels like a fairy tale day for Moist. But Genome, I have to ask you again, have they gone too hard, too fast? Is this going to be a repeat of the Team Burger curse?
Where have we seen this before, Elfish? Where have we seen 2 wins from Moist before? They did it, and then they couldn't close it out. I don't want to see that happen again. Please, Moist. It's been such a phenomenal start to the day from them. We expected them to do better in these higher skill lobbies. We know that when it's the top 20 teams instead of the top 30 teams, Moist tends to be just indomitable, honestly. And even, you know, the way they finished off that lobby showed exactly how, right? Like, Waltzy just went in deep. He did a ton of damage, and then we actually got the POV. I'm not sure if that was stream or what I was looking at, but Pricey was basically on the high ground and came in, basically used the distraction from Waltzy going in to get that last bit of damage off and clean up the fight. But between the two of them, honestly, it was just a monumental effort for them to get on top and win that final 3v3.
Well, I mean, it was a 2v3 at a certain point. The trades did come through pretty quick, to be fair, from Waltzy, and you have to imagine MT did a bit of damage before he did go down to make that one possible. But there is a world where once you lose that first knock in the final 3v3, things can go wrong pretty quick. If you're not able to capitalize and get that fast trade, it starts to spiral out of control because you have less guns in the game, you have less resources, you control the zone, you know, a little bit worse as well. So it was really important that they were able to find that quick initial trade that Waltzy got 2 of, actually, in fact. And so really impressive stuff from Moist here on Storm Point. The other thing to note as well is that we are going to be moving back to World's Edge, so there was a lot of success on Storm Point from Moist. Not as much on World's Edge. Granted, they did take a 2nd place on World's Edge. They took a 2nd, a 1st, and a 1st in the last 3 games, but we want to be talking about those first places more than anything else. And I mean, gee, you just really got to continue to think about it in the perspective of Moist. Hopefully, they haven't used too much too early. The rest of the teams in the competition, though, will be really hoping that that is going to be the case, that this essentially free game that Moist is going to have, this free crack at the match point format, is not actually going to be converted, because right now Moist is the only team that is going to be able to win the next game and end the day. But beyond that, Dreamfire, they're only 4 points away. We talked about them. They only got 5 points the last game, but doing that again, that's going to be enough to get them to match point. Chicken Sandwich didn't really do too much, but Truth have been quietly putting together a pretty decent day. So they're also getting quite close to that 50-point mark. And I think if Moist doesn't get it done in the next game, then they're going to start getting contested for that position by a couple of other teams.
Yeah, but they've, with that big first place finish there and the kills that came with it, they have pushed well ahead of the competition. Now, remember, when we're talking about Moist, it's either first or it matters what happens to Boogie Borders. Right now, Boogie Borders, they took out an 8th place here. I think they've slipped back 1 position into 5th, but that's still not enough. Like, if Moist can't take out the day, I think Boogie Borders would still get ahead there. So I'm just gonna keep having a look at the relationship between Moist and Boogie Borders. As you can see, they are now highlighted in red throughout the day. That will indicate which teams have moved onto that match point eligibility. As you said, Truth Esports coming up there into 38. Of course, they had a great ring pull there for them towards the IMC. That was very helpful, but they did definitely convert all the way up to that, of course, that final fight. But, you know, until then, it was a fantastic game they played. Saijin with 7 kills so far throughout the day. Natsuru Sama has 8. And, you know, they didn't play that well throughout the season, Elfish, right? They didn't do well enough to get themselves into that the qualifying conversation apart from getting first place. But Nut is always someone who we have thought could represent APAC South well on the world stage, and he hasn't had that chance yet. So who knows? Maybe Truth Esports here are that dark horse, are the ones in with the opportunity to make their dreams come true and make it over.
Are they the grape of this season, so to speak?
Could be.
Could be, definitely. I mean, there's any possibility still for anyone to win, but Moist is going to be the team that has the best chance of anyone. They've got a quote-unquote free game. They've got a bite at the cherry that no one else is going to get to have. So whether or not Moist can convert it in this next game is going to be a big talking point. We'll have to take a break before that. We're back to World's Edge. We'll see if they can get it done in Game 5.
Reignite is gonna do it. They are your champions. Dark Zero is going to be your champions of the APAC Legends Global Series.
Welcome back to the Moist Show, where we are getting wet. I don't know about you, Genome. I'm getting wet after watching that back-to-back from Moist Esports. They are now in position to potentially win the day. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves just yet. They've won back-to-back, but they would need the hat trick to do it right here and now, and you don't very often see that. Hat trick, 3 in a row, not easy to get.
Yeah, look, I've got the Rash Fest, the board shorts all ready to see what happens. It's going to be a pool party if we continue to see the kind of form that we've had out of Moist so far in this game. And look, if we compare that to how Moist have gone through the rest of this season, Elfish, it's been a massive uptick. As you can see here, they are averaging, a kill and a half more than they have for the rest of the season. They're putting in an extra 600 damage, but the big part is that their placement has been fantastic so far today compared to what they can usually pull out. Under 7 is actually fantastic as far as the entire season goes, but when you see it, when you compare it to how well they're doing today, that just shows you why they are so far on top of the rest of the lobby right now.
All right, well, we get to start getting into that fun conversation that we always like to have around the time of the match point. Are they going to play differently? Are they going to continue to play as proactively as they have been? Are they going to try to rotate earlier, get center, hold down a building, and just do nothing for the whole game and then play out that final fight? We obviously have to wait and see whether or not that's going to change up. Do they change their team composition so teams will find it harder to snipe them? Do they change their skins, etc., that kind of thing? I'm not sure we get into that level of depth necessarily, but just to remind everyone why we're talking about this. Once a team reaches 50 points, which Moist have done, they become match point eligible. Once you're match point eligible, if you win, you win. Easy as that. And at the moment, the only team that is able to do that is Moist Esports. So they do have essentially a free game here where no one else matters, in a sense. If someone else wins, games continue to get played on until Moist or then another team that's hit match point is going to pick up a win. And at that point, then we can crown our champion for the season.
Yeah, and there's still only a couple of teams who can probably join them in this next game. As we get into Game 4 now, it feels like Dreamfire are very close, especially considering we're on World's Edge, to making it to match point. But then you've also got, like Chicken Sandwich have a chance. True Esports, if they really have a good game, can get there as well. But it would take a big effort from anyone else, even Boogie Borders or Exo Clan, to push up there into the match point level. So, back on World's Edge, Elfish. Let's have another fun game.
Ooh, and we're going to get the southern shift this time. So, first time on this map that it's going to go south. It's gone hard south, by the way. You can even see a little bit of a sneak peek there on the mini-map here of Moist Esports. They already have that early information. So this is, again, that conversation I was having a little bit earlier. They know where the zone is going. They know they just need a win. They could literally get a 1-kill win here, and that's the best result they could ask for. They've got that early information. Do they move as early as they possibly can, try to take a position, and just sit there and do nothing for the rest of the game? I can already see Moist moving. So, have to imagine that that is an affirmative reaction on their behalf, that is the kind of game that they're going to be going for. They don't want to be getting caught on a rotate. They don't want anyone to be pushing into Lava Siphon while they're still looting and while they're still thinking about their rotate. They just want to sit there and do nothing all game.
Not only that, Elfish, but, they start off with Siphon, they get the beacon scan, and they have... It's one of those POIs where you can pull out quickly. They don't want to stop to craft this time, even though they also got the crafter spawn, because, as you said, they just want that early information. But it also means that you start off with pretty good loot compared to most teams who are making that ultra-fast rotate. And sure, Walty is on white at the moment, but look, a purple and a blue is certainly nothing to sneeze at with how they got... Are they actually going to get... God spot, because MDY had it. MDY, who start off in launch spot, you can see they're actually moving towards it right now. And Moist, they almost make it in there, but just in the nick of time, MDY will fall back into that building that we have talked about all season, Elfish, as the one you want to be in launch site, because time and time again, it helps you out. And with that last-minute rotation, they don't find a great spot to Valk ult into, and Waltzy's gone down. They're trying to punch him back inside.
He's okay.
Oh, they're just going to make this happen, and MDY won't push the issue. And honestly, that's a little bit unusual for them.
Well, they don't know that that's Waltzy. They don't know. If they know that's Waltzy, you can almost guarantee that every team in the lobby is looking to get that flush confirmed. But they don't know because of anonymous mode, and so Waltzy gets away with a little bit of a freebie there.
I do want to point something out here, Elfish. And we've seen their winner graphic come up a couple of times. And you may have noticed that all three of them were actually wearing white skins. Right? In those. Now, you might be right, because Waltzy, so far that I have seen, has been the only member of that team who's been changing his skin up. He changed it from one white or silver sort of skin to another one. This time, he's gone for
purple.
Yeah, it's like the real neon outfit there for the Valkyrie. So you're right. Maybe with that change up, that was enough to sort of disguise it a little bit. But I will note that Pricey and MT are playing the same white/silver skins.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that it's a viable strategy. I think it's the kind of thing that is literally not going to make a difference to your gameplay at all. It takes 5 seconds to do. I don't know why you wouldn't do it in their position.
Agreed.
Maybe it makes no difference. Probably it makes no difference. But for the 0.5% that it potentially could, it's worth it in my opinion, because it costs you nothing to do. Either way, discussion for another day, or discussion for later on down the track, as Team Op have also started to make their rotation in. T4 as well. We're getting a fairly big congregation now in toward launch site, but the main thing that you need to know is that Moist have carved out their territory. There's not really anyone that's going to be able to push into their little command center, into their little room. MDY have done the same, and T4 have sort of taken out one of the other command centers. So those are the three teams that have taken, I guess, the premium spots around launch site. And now we just have to wait and see which one of them is going to get fed with this zone.
So after that reset, Moist are looking a little bit happy here. Waltzy still on the white armor. They're going to need to upgrade that eventually. If it does end up being the sort of launch site circle we expect, Elfish, MDY have a great spot there. That said, they don't have Watson, so it's a little bit harder for them to hold out those sort of areas. But someone who does have Watson is T4, as they sit in the southeastern building here in launch site. So also had a little bit of a hint of the Loba there, who we've seen coming through on Chicken Sandwich. Of course, I think it was Strafing Flame who used to play Loba as well when he was back on Primus Commander as well. And they were, of course, one of the first teams to pick up Loba when we saw that little bit of a shift in year 2 of the ALGS, when she started to come in and teams really started to realize you could rotate fast, not have to worry about the loot in your sort of home POI, and just sort of pick through the death boxes of other teams with your solid position within the ring.
Well, keeping things pretty chill for the moment is Dreamfire, and it's going to be what they would like to see until they've got 4-5 on the board.
Oh, this could be an interesting... if this does come to blows, though, it's Truth Esports, as you can see here on the other side, Elfish. And you got to remember, they're two of the teams closest to match point.
Look at the
It
zone.
doesn't feel like it. It feels like Truth are probably going to go through the Vault Tunnel, and Dreamfire will go through that staging. But that does also give Dreamfire the option of pulling around to the other side of the Vault Tunnel and forcing the
Truth are going to wait. I think Truth are going to wait, and they're going to scan the ring here in Landslide, and then they'll move. So that, you know, might mean Dreamfire moves on. We'll see. Keep an eye on things there on the map for you guys, but in the meanwhile, you can have a little bit of a look at Boogie Borders. Quite important to see what Boogie Borders is up to at the moment, because they will be one of those teams that, if they do well and Moist is not able to convert the win, maybe Moist still misses out on going overseas. So,
and at the moment it's literally like 1 or 2 places between that happening.
Have to wait and see. I don't think we're going to be expecting to see too much happening just yet. Boogie Boarders won't want to be getting into a fight. They don't actually have information as to where that next zone is going to end up going. I do, though. And it's gone straight over the top of launch site, as to be expected. The teams in launch site are going to easily be able to get that info as well. There is a beacon in there, so you can see all the crypto drones flying around on the minimap looking for that info. It means that Moist is in the zone, MDY, they're still in the zone, T4, Popcorn, Northside, Daewoo United, pretty much all of the teams in Launchside are quite happy with that. And even Chicken Sandwich, who you can see right at the bottom of the minimap there, have just holed up on the cliff. One of the few positions that is going to be playable in that area of the map. But they're happy to see it going south.
Yeah, definitely, because you do occasionally see, zones that go all the way down towards T4, down towards the mini egg that's below or to the west of Dome. And if it does do that, then yeah, Chicken Sandwich are going to be sitting pretty, it must be said. And certainly teams like Moist, who have sometimes struggled when the zone is hit that sort of north side of the launch site, also will be a lot happier. So, I don't know, man. This is it's looking better and better for the boys. But look, with 18 squads left, it's a battle royale, Elfish, and anything can still happen.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Popcorn are hoping nothing's going to happen because they've got a pretty good position in the zone. I say pretty good. I don't know if it's exactly the best position, to be honest. Zone-wise, they're in, but it might be hard to lock down if teams start to contest them for it. It's just the kind of spot that no one's really going to contest for, I'd say. It's just going to be teams that are rotating past that are going to cause the issue.
Yeah. So teams, if anyone peeks down on their head, then yeah, they're going to be probably in a spot of bother, I would say. Now, I'm going to look at Daewoo, who have been, had a good start to the day and then really have slowed down. You can see triple whites is definitely not what you want when we're about to see round 2 closing in. They're also well out in the open. 30-30s. I'm having a look. There's not a huge amount of ammo. There's not a huge amount of attachment on these guns. Daewoo almost in shambles. Like, without taking a hit, they're almost in shambles already. So, it's going to be on them. It's going to be on their skill. I mean, they do have Easy Flash on their side. This guy has been, is the outlier. If you go and look at the stats for this season, the Harvester, obviously, we put that up with all of the very detailed stats in APAC South ALGS here. You will see that Easy Flash is the outlier far ahead of everyone else in average damage and of course total damage throughout the split. So if there's anyone you wanted to trust to get you off those white armors, it is Easy Flash from Daewoo.
Yeah, certainly a really impressive player and a big reason why Daewoo has been so successful in this season. But is he going to have enough today to get them over the line? Well, they still have to do a little bit more to even get to that point just yet where we get interested in what they're doing in terms of wins. But Golden Sage are on the rotate too. They've run into MDY. And I'm not sure that I'd really like to be running into MDY, to be quite honest with you, on the edge of the ring. Good shots in from Mobius. He's going to prompt out the Bangalore smoke. Feiju right out into the zone. Gets behind one, but bites off a little more than he can chew. Leaves it now down to the one-on-one, and MDY do get taken down. Azu survives. Daewoo is lurking. They recognize the opportunity for some kill points, and it doesn't seem like it's going to take them long to get a couple in there. Mobius and Jipe taken down. Azu got out. Well, that's 2 kills.
I mean, look at that. Yeah, purple's already, right? And I guess the other thing, when we mentioned before, Daewoo don't actually have to do that much, Elfish. They need 11th or better, and they are guaranteed to go to LAN.
Yeah.
Like they only need to get halfway through this lobby, really. And they're fine. They've done it. And at this point, they're sitting at, I think it's 8th spot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, honestly, the effort that they've been giving so far is good enough.
I reckon it's still a little bit scary. I agree, though. It seems like they're doing enough, but you don't really want to leave it up to chance like that teams could still leapfrog a couple of places and knock you down into, let's say, 12th. It would feel unlikely to happen this game, so let's just, for the sake of argument, entertain that Moist might be able to get it done here. And look, based on the ring pulls that they're getting, I think that is very possible for them to do. then I think Daewoo is still going to be okay.
Yeah. Did we have vision of that on the broadcast already? Because like that
a little bit. You can see it on the mini map when we were watching one or two other teams.
Yeah,
but we haven't seen the full screen yet.
That is actually kind of nuts in terms of where that's going. Chicken Sandwich, Moist, T4 all in very, very favorable spots for this next ring pull. And as you said, Moist the ones we're looking at, right? They, wow. Yeah, I really can't get over how good that is going to be for Moist.
It's about as good as it could have gotten. You know, maybe it could have been slightly better if it pulled completely onto them. There's a chance that someone might try to push through that building or put some damage onto them on the rotate through, but yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, like the community expectations have been so high for them, and for them to show up at the regional finals day is that's I guess what we expect of a team of this caliber, of this quality. But anyway, look, there's lots of other teams that we need to be thinking about as well. There's not there's 5 teams that are going over, and there's many more teams than that who have been performing well this season. Dreamfire have been one of them. They certainly performed in the first 2 matches today, and then they had 2 shockers. Now they've actually managed to do some damage to Daewoo, who despite having that quick upgrade of the armors, it looks like Bastion might just be able to hide out here. He's got a little crate to himself. He's going to have to stay there. As quiet as a mouse, not make any noise.
Yeah, look, I've got to be honest with you. It does look like Moist is going to get it done. They are fragging out today, but Ant Esports trying to hold on for the moment. They're doing a really good job of that. Emmanuel just has no hope of trying to get into the ring. Circle has shifted once again. Moist are starting to get a little bit active now. We get some footage of them. I've been watching their POV. I'm literally only watching their POV in the game just to see what they're up to. Not only that, but they're also getting the information on the ring pretty quick for me, so that's nice of them. But they are trying to now start to control their territory rather than just sitting inside of this building, which is definitely something they're going to have to do. Teams are going to be pushing into them. They're going to be looking for areas to rotate into, and the position that Moist is in is one of the gold spots of this next zone. So they really need to be putting damage down before teams get to them to try to force teams into a bit of a decision. Do we try to push into this team that is really beating us, hurting us, forcing us to use our resources, or do we go somewhere else?
Yeah, you can see Moist taking shots at EXO over the other side there. A couple of these teams, obviously, they've got their spots and they like to play them. We've seen Moist play this spot. We've seen EXO play that spot just underneath the sort of the north building there a couple of times now. But all of the other times, it's certainly favored EXO and the teams in the north side more. This time, it is going to favor the teams in the south with that ring pull that we saw. Moist is going to be able to drop down from the high ground. Meanwhile, Dreamfire always trying to force a fight somewhere. And this time, unfortunately, it's Roy who's gone down first, but they do win out eventually. They get down 505. No one else is looking at them. It should be a solid and quick reset here from Dreamfire on the southern side of the circle.
Well, I don't think Dreamfire... Have they got enough? Have they got 5 points out of this game just yet? If they go down right here, they might miss out again. They really would not be wanting to drop there at all. And Esports have made their rotation in. It's going to be a spotty position to play, that's for sure. Especially until the zone pulls its way in. But even then, you can already see those Arc Stars headed in their direction, causing a real problem for them. And Popcorn, looking like they're going to be the big benefactors of that damage so far. They'll be worried about their own positioning too. This is right underneath the building that Moist is in as well, by the way.
Yep. They're really taking it out against Ant Esports, who are holding the low ground here while Moist look on from above. It seems like one of these teams has to go down, and it's going to be Ant to start dropping Popcorn. They've lost 2, though, and Kizix isn't going to do any better. So that's a fight win for Ant, but I don't think it's going to be winning the battle.
Well, Ring has pulled its way in, and Moist have maintained control of their position. No one is even challenging them for it right now. Most of the fight is happening out on the northeastern side of the zone, in toward the big building, and that is perfect. As far as Moist is concerned, it's going to be this next push across that is going to be the big question mark for them. If they can make this one happen without losing a player, they're going to be in a position to win the game. But there's going to be a good 5 or 10 seconds where they're making that cross. If they get the timing wrong, a lot of teams are going to be looking in their direction and trying to hit them. Obviously, they don't know that it's Moist, but
this is going to be... I mean, it's going to be a super critical time, Elfish. And you say they don't know it's going to be Moist. But if these teams will be doing their homework, they will. They will. Because as I said, Moist play this position often. Teams should be reading that, frankly, and having at least some idea or some expectation, even if they're not sure that it could be Moist from over here. The other thing to mention, Elfish, here is, remember last time we saw them play this position, they ran out of ammo. And we just saw there, Pricey was down to his last clip on the G7 Scout. I think he got dropped a little bit there from his teammates. But once again, they're struggling a little bit with their economy. Sure, they're up to 2 reds and a purple. That's fantastic. But they need the ammo to be able to take these last few fights and finish this out. That said, looks like they moved over onto a good position and they've started fencing up. They've got the pylon down.
Yeah, I did have a quick look through the squad, and they're looking all right for heavy ammo, but they're really running low on light ammo. So that'll be a bit of a situation they'll have to keep in mind. EXO are doing much better this game as well. They're into the top 10, but how much further can they convert this? Bearing in mind, this lobby could end at any time. And if you're EXO and you want to be going overseas, you need to ensure that you're getting as many points on the board as possible, even if you're not winning. Dreamfire still alive. And you'd have to say now they're probably inside of the 50-point mark, maybe just outside of it, yeah. But if they get those kills, well, I think we can lock it in. EXO just gets eliminated. That's a caster curse if I've ever seen it. And Dreamfire straight away as well. So the two teams that we look at and compliment are straight out of the picture. And as well going down. 7 squads remaining. 6 that are not Moist. 6 that if they win this, the day will continue. And 1 that if they can convert this game, will end the day right here and now in Game 5.
Moist starting to clear out their back. They've got Kilmate from north side behind them. If they do that, they will actually have some good position here in the ring. Now, as you said, EXO, Dreamfire have gone out. A lot of the other, big threats, if you're going toe-to-toe with some of these teams, are going down. Meanwhile, teams are fighting inside for supremacy for that ground as well. T4, who had the really good position inside the ring, they've really struggled now. It's only Tap Strafe with you left. And you've got other teams like Buriram and Boogie Borders who are potentially going to be trying to hold out Moist. Moist are not being shy about this, though. Moist are pushing out and trying to make sure that teams around them know that they're there. They're making their presence felt.
Well, they really don't want teams to drop down on top of them. That would be an absolute disaster. So they are trying to make sure that teams are aware and scared of dropping down as well. Obviously, you're getting these Bloodhound scans through as well, so whichever team that is going to be getting plenty of information. Alternator pylon down, fences everywhere. There should not be anyone dropping onto Moist. If they do, they should be getting picked off. T4 does get eliminated there. And we're down to the final 4 teams. This is going to be a big one. It is ending on that ledge, so there's actually a world maybe where Moist can play under the ledge.
Yep.
And still be in the zone right down to 100%. The very center of the circle.
Exactly. They're getting the info there with the drone as well. It's Truth Esports on the top. We've got Boogie Borders as well. And then Buriram are a duo. So 3 full squads left alive. And then Buriram as well. On the low ground, it's Moist versus Buriram at the moment. Buriram are getting not the better end of the stick there. They actually just get a revive off. But as they do, Moist are too powerful. But they can't take too much damage here. If they get knocked, if they get anyone down, you could see one of these other teams like Truth or Boogie Borders up the top drop down.
This is perfect.
Boogie Borders, they're feeling too much pressure, so they're not going to look down there. They're watching the team inside, and they're going to push up to Truth. This is amazing for Moist.
Moist have got to go now. They've got to look for the third party. That's exactly what they're doing. They'll lock them inside the building with the Watson fences. And Moist have pulled off the unthinkable. An absolutely surreal day. Back to back to back. The three-peat, the hat-trick. And Moist have done it.
One of the quickest but most exciting finishes we have seen to a match point series in ALGS history. Moist, who win 2 games in the entire split, come out and take 3 in a row. They're not letting it happen again. They won't be in that situation where they win 2 and then go without first place to finish off the season. They clean it in 3 matches in a row. I mean, how many times have we even seen a team win 3 in a row in ALGS in total, let alone to close out a series on match point?
I'm absolutely speechless, to be honest with you, Genome. I don't think I've ever seen anyone play like that in a match point format. You know, I've done quite a few days of this format, and it never ends that fast. It's never that clean. I mean, look, even beyond the fact that they won 3 in a row, prior to that, they had a second as well. So they've gone second, first. That is an unbelievable run out of 5 games. I know we ultimately get into 5, so let's not mention the first game. Whatever, that's by the by. Feels like a long time ago and a completely different team, but Moist, that was impressive. And they absolutely deserve to be going overseas. I mean, we can lock that in. They've got the passport stamped already. They know they're going to be a team headed over. The other 4, well, we'll have to do a bit of a calculation in the background, and we can take a look back at some of the replays while we do that. But, you know, I mean, this whole conversation has to be about Moist. So, nothing really more to be said, but they are going to end up being the top dogs today.
I mean, I'm not sure this has ever happened before where there's only been one team on match point and they have converted it. I think that's actually the first time in match point history in the ALGS where no other team has even had a chance to get first.
Well, yeah, I mean, not only that, but to do it, yeah, exactly, in the very next game as well. I think there's been instances where, you know, one team has had like 2 or 3 chances at that match point when no one else has had it and haven't been able to get it done. But beyond that fact, Moist doing it straight away, right? We talked about that curse. They'd been there before as Team Burger. They'd made that mistake of getting the 2 wins, getting to the 50 points, and then not winning for the rest of the day. But they're not going to make that mistake today. That is just an unreal performance from Moist Esports. It felt like it was all coming together for them. Look, a couple of favorable ring pulls right there. But end of the day, you still have to work really hard to win that game. They moved quickly into a good position. They got the information early. They played it exactly the way they needed to. They didn't get too aggressive, but when they needed to show aggression and take control and take space, they did. And that was enough to keep them in the position to win the game. And, well, there you can see they've walked away with the victory. And for everyone else, maybe it doesn't matter. Boogie Board has actually got a second. So there you go. That is crazy. We've got the scoreboard here to have a look at as well, Genome. And that will indicate to us likely the teams that will be going overseas. Dreamfire might be in a good position to make it. Boogie Boarders as well as Chicken Sandwich. If I had to take a guess, those teams would be okay. I'm not sure about Truth, if they've done enough with that 3rd place to elevate themselves up into the top 4 or the top 5. I don't think so. But look, either way, still.
Oh, man.
I'm shook.
Yeah,
I'm really shook.
There's some questions there, definitely, with ExoClan down at 8th and Daewoo at 9th. That definitely opens up some options. I will say I'm pretty sure Chicken Sandwich, yeah, they have made it through. I think what was it? They needed to get 13th or something. Daewoo needed to get, I think it was 11th. So I believe we have at least 3 teams confirmed there in Moist, Chicken Sandwich, and Daewoo. But beyond that, yeah, I'm gonna wait to see. We'll wait for that confirmation from production to see who has punched their ticket overseas and gets to come to LAN.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'm just taking a look at the numbers here, and Dreamfire, they've managed to make it to the match point. They got above 50, but it's not going to matter for them. They're not even going to get to have a crack, and that's got to feel painful after pulling off that massive win earlier on today. Dreamfire, you know, they were on 41 after 2 games, and they didn't get to the match point. They didn't get to have a chance of getting the win, but, well, yeah, look, end of the day, they still take seconds, so maybe that's going to be enough for them for the season as a whole. You'd like to think it will be. Maybe
yeah,
not.
it's not. It's definitely not guaranteed. You know, they were sitting, I think it was 10 points behind 5th place coming into this. So they're going to get the 21 points, which means, yeah, what they need to get less than 11. You know, anyway, maths, it's going to happen. Dreamfire, they've given themselves a chance by getting second. That is for sure. Yeah, we're just waiting for the calculations to happen, just to make sure we don't get any of this wrong, and we're confident when we can tell you exactly who has found that 5th place and that 4th place especially. But yeah, look, certainly if you're a fan of OCE, we're doing pretty well. Doing pretty well so far. Indonesian fans, they're going to be happy that Dewa is going back overseas. Obviously, they have had some representation already. Those players do have LAN experience, and they're going to be back. And they're going to be so happy to be back on that stage.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we do have to go ahead and say, once again, a big congratulations to Moist Esports. They have secured their spot overseas. That much we are aware of, so we'll stamp the ticket here. We'll give them the passport. As you can see, ALGS Airways always ready to send teams overseas.
That's what they do best. It's yeah, it's the only thing they do, really. Actually, surprisingly, it's a niche airline, but it's one that we hold dear to our hearts.
Yeah, hopefully they're gonna fly first class, you know, because it's gonna be a long flight. Well, actually, I don't know that.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it's gonna be, but normally when you're coming from Australia, it's gonna be a long flight. So I think we can be pretty safe in that assumption that at the very least it'll probably be somewhere in the realms of 8 hours plus, even if the event were to be in Asia. But look, besides that point, you know, I think there is still going to be a degree of pressure on this Moist Esports roster, right? They said so themselves. They come in. They're a very talented squad. They're some of the back-to-back-to-back representatives at these international events from our region. And now with Reignite / Dark Zero departing from the region, I think you could maybe make the argument that they are the best prospect coming out of APAC South and going overseas to do well. So they're going to now have not only the ANZ contingent cheering for them in the APAC South competition, they're going to have the APAC South contingent cheering for them in the international competition. And so they'll have that weight on their shoulders going overseas as well.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, that's the interview we had with them last week where Walty was talking, or maybe it was the week before, where they were talking about those expectations. And somehow in the last week, you know, they've gone past that, right? They've somehow just like strengthen their mental game to such a point that they could take 3 victories in a row. I mean, obviously not only that, but also their game on the ground was just phenomenal as well. We saw them take out that 2v3 to win the fight over on Storm Point as well. It was just, yeah, it was highlight central there for Moist. They pulled out enough wins, enough kills, and they just got the job done. So, yeah, this has been honestly one of the shortest days we've ever had as far as match point goes. We didn't even get the full series. We didn't even get the full 6 games, and they already clutched it out for that. It's funny to think, like, if this was a 6-game series, this could have been one of the biggest point days from any team individually ever. If you had to played out the full series, right, with 3 wins in a row.
Well, they were what, 89 points after 5 games. So, yeah, I mean, you're going above 100, and if you go above 100, that's generally pretty good. I think, what was it, like 113? Might have been the upper limit that we saw when Reignite was playing last season. Either way, I mean, I don't really want to get into that discussion. I think it's a bit by the by, to be honest. But yeah, really, really massive stuff, and it does lead you to start now questioning where the rest of the competition did fall. If you're wondering what's going on, ladies and gents, we're trying to, you know, organize an interview as well with the Moist lads. So if you are interested in that, make sure you stick around. I know it's you're just wondering, why are these guys on the screen talking for so long? But it's something that we need to do, and something that we want to do as well. I'm kind of looking forward to hopefully getting to chat with them. I'm sure, you know, it might be tough to calm them down at this point. Someone's probably gone running around the house telling everyone that they're going overseas rather than sitting at the computer waiting for the interview. But
and the other thing, I guess, when you think about that, Elfish, is that you know, sure, MT has been there, Waltzy has been there, but Pricey, he missed out last time. Remember, Pricey, he was there at Sweden, but they made the roster change, and he didn't get to go to Rally. And look, you know, I even talked to him a little bit in the last couple of weeks, you know, and he said he feels that, man. He feels that absence, you know, that missed chance. And he did not let it slip him by this time, contributing every single game here to his team to allow him and the entire team to make it back to where they feel they should be, which is against the other best players in the world.
Yeah, I think you can definitely say the roster swap was justified in the end. There would certainly have been some questions going into today. Was it worth it? Was it going well for Moist? I mean, it was neither here nor there, but Moist, you know, they win the season, basically. They walk away with first place, 3 back-to-back wins. Pricey deserves to be there. He deserves to be going overseas, and I wish them all the best, and I hope it goes really well for them. You know, a couple of the other teams as well, definitely making some roster changes that seem to have worked out. One that really interested me at the start of the season, of course, was Boogie Borders, but you know, I think they've probably done enough to get through today. We'll again have to wait and see what the scoreboard is going to look like. I think, you know, going from basically completely new team to qualifying for overseas, if they've been able to do that, you know, that's a really, really impressive result as well. So all of these teams that are able to sort of make these roster changes and make it fit, make it stick in only, what has it been, like 6 weeks of competition, is not that easy to make. So end of the day, you know, you got to give them credit for the hard work that they're putting in. I know a lot of these teams are scrimming, you know, probably daily, and it is really a testament to their hard work that they've been able to have this kind of success.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have one of those guys in from Moist Esports very soon to have a quick chat with us and share their joy at clutching up here at the final day at regional finals, which is this great celebration to the end of the ALGS split. I really love how we've changed that this year and made it just a much more hype, you know, much more interesting. You know, even if you heard that interview with Panna earlier from Chicken Sandwich, he was saying, you know, that was one of his favorite parts, which actually is funny because I feel like it's often, it's not usually the players, it's usually everyone else who enjoys match point format, right? It can be a bit controversial with some of the pros, but Panna saying, you know, he's certainly on the viewer side there, where we always get that exciting finish, where, you know, the winner of that final match with the winner of the day. And in this case, of course, that was Moist Esports. Sure, we'll have him or one of the other Moist players coming in real soon. We're just trying to get them on the line. Oh, yeah. Look, what else, Elfish? What else?
I don't know if there's anything else really to say at this point.
Well, I guess one of the other things to think about is prize pool as well. Is like, you know, was that enough? The 25 points that Moist are going to push through this with this week, is that actually going to push them close enough to, you know, the top of the leaderboard that they could potentially also nab the 10K, a nice little chunky bonus on top of grabbing their ticket overseas. We will, of course, we'll wait. We'll announce, you know, who these the top 5 spots are going overseas, and then we will we'll try and we'll give you that final standings and the final scoreboard so you can see that and see who's walking away with the cash. Everyone in this final lobby, all 20 teams, will be getting at least $1,000. Everyone who got eliminated last week, they're grabbing $750, and then it just moves up more and more from there until you get 10K for first place in USD, of course.
Yeah, they were on 100 points coming into today, Moist, so they'd be up to 125. That would only be 10 above Chicken Sandwich. So, well, that would be only above 10 above Chicken Sandwich, who came into today on 115. So I'm not sure they would actually win the lobby. But, Gino, I think we're at that point now where we can start to announce the teams that are making their way overseas. Let's start to announce alongside Moist. The team next joining them, EXO, have done just enough to book their ticket on the ALGS Airways. Dexter Killerpols and Ziki will be heading over to represent APAC South.
Yep, going over there. So they'll be our 5th seed. Remember, we're going to work our way up here. Congratulations to EXO. The Thai guys have been doing so well for such a long time. We saw them at Rally. I think they missed out at Sweden, if I recall correctly. Yep. But they're certainly a team that we feel deserves to be there representing our region, because they never stop. And also, they never stop having a good time. That's one of the other things I love about EXO. Somehow they stay at the top of the region with some of the funniest comms you ever heard. Even if you can't understand them, honestly, go watch one of their streams sometimes, because they're always just joking and laughing around while simultaneously, you know, wiping everyone else off the server.
Yeah, really, really impressive stuff today from EXO. I mean, they didn't have the best of days, really, let's be real, but they did have a good enough day to get it done. 29 points for the day. They sat in 8th place. They kind of knew what they had to do coming into today, and they were able to get it over the line. They were only a couple of points behind 6th. If they would have got 1 or 2 more points, they could have finished in 6th for the day, and that would have been probably looking quite comfortable to lock things in. But they are the lowest seeded qualifier, if that makes sense. They come through in the 5th qualification spot, which will mean potentially they get themselves into a pretty hard group when they do go overseas. It's another thing to sort of think about. You will have some difficulties with some of the top teams from other regions coming through into your group, but end of the day, you're just happy to be there, I think. And for EXO in particular, an organization that has done a lot within the Apex Legends community, yeah, they will be very, very pumped to be making it overseas.
Yeah, definitely be one of the orgs that, supports the region, supports their team, and yeah, just supports the scene as a whole, frankly, the most. So really happy that EXO have made it through there. That, of course, leaves some interesting discussions up for who's going to be next. Elfish, it seems like there's only a couple of teams who it could be. Dreamfire, they had that 2nd place. Was that enough to push them up? Or is it perhaps Boogie Borders? I think it has to be one of those 2 teams. Elfish, let's see what the passport tells us. It's going to be Boogie Borders. We've got another OCE representative coming through. Fussy, sure, he made it overseas last time when he played for Sutraiku, but Shady and Raki are going to be first-time LAN participants at our next Split 1 playoffs.
Yeah, definitely an impressive team. I think you look at these guys and say, It did feel a bit like fate that they would be able to get it done. I think the expectation when they built the team was nothing less than to be able to qualify and go overseas. It, obviously isn't going to be as easy as it is to just sit here and say that they should be able to do it, they will be able to do it, blah, blah, blah. You do have to still convert those results, but it's really good to see, in my opinion, this roster there. I think it's a strong-looking roster. I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do overseas. And yeah, as you mentioned, it's funny that Fussy would be the one with the most experience because this time a year ago, I think, was probably when he first moved into that Sutraiku roster and got taken over to Sweden. And that was like his first season in ALGS, and obviously his first international event, and now he's like almost a veteran of these qualifications. So yeah, very, very talented player, and nice to see him having success. He's a really good guy, so I'm happy for him.
Yeah, things changed quickly, I guess, in the infancy of Apex Legends esports. Hopefully we've got a long history yet to come for this game. But yeah, as you said, Fussy really established himself as one of the elite controller players. And from there, he's found a lot of success. It's interesting, that with the roster shuffles that happened early on in the season, it was Shady that joined the team, and he has... look, he's been fantastically rewarded from that, hasn't he? He's getting to live every esports player's dream now by getting to go overseas and, join in a tier 1 competition alongside Raki there, who has also been, around the top couple of OCE teams for quite some time now, but unfortunately wasn't on one of the ones that made it through, like, I think it was BRP that he was on last time in year 2, that didn't quite make it through, and it's always tough, because we've only got the 5 spots.
Yeah, has definitely been on the ancillary, though, someone that you sort of were thinking, if he finds that next level, or if he finds a team that's on that next level, he'll be able to make it. And so not a huge surprise to me to be seeing him and this team as well going to get themselves an overseas slot. So I'm quite happy with that one. The remaining 2 teams, not too sure exactly who they're going to be, but I can make a pretty educated guess as to who they might be. 2 teams that have been really quite consistent this season. We sort of came into today with the expectation of the top 4 making it. That was Chicken Sandwich, Dewa, EXO, Boogie Borders, and then it was a question of who was going to join them. Would Moist be able to win the day? Would Dreamfire or Boomerang be able to win the day? It probably came down to one of those 3 teams being, the most likely to do it. Ends up being Moist. So, I think you can put your thinking cap on and really figure out who the next couple of teams are going to end up being. And I like that for the consistency factor. I don't want to just go from, well, who did well today. I mean, kind of did tie in nicely that they did well today as well. But, I don't want to just see like one day mattering. I think the whole season absolutely has to matter. So it's good that those teams that were consistent today are going to get rewarded for it.
Yeah, it's been fantastic from them. As you said, they have been rewarded for that consistency. I guess the other thing to sort of mention on that note is that, yeah, like it was really hard for the teams that were higher up there. They would have had to, you know, probably go, I think it was something like, you know, like 16th or lower, honestly, to even struggle to get through that. But the two teams who were on the top, of course, were Chicken Sandwich and Daewoo. So let's see, is it one of them who's made it through in that, what are we up to, 3rd seed spot there, Elfish?
Yep.
Of course, Moist grabbing first. It was EXO in 5th, and then Boogie Borders in 4th. Who is about to join them in 3rd place here? I think we're getting the reveal in just a second. Okay. Here it is. It's going to be Daewoo. Okay. Nice.
I mean, I don't think that is going to be too much surprise to anyone that's been watching along this season. Daewoo had been, and maybe is, one of the most consistent teams in terms of how they've gone about things. In fact, their placement, their average placement was better than anyone else's going into today. I'm not sure that that's going to be maintained. I think Moist probably... into the top 4, and it's nice that they were also able to convert a pretty good day for themselves, and so there wasn't really that much of a question about it. They also had the highest average total points per game. Again, going into today, that may change based on how Moist have played today, but you know, there was definitely going to have to be a spot for them overseas.
Yeah, and they were, you know, based off the... As they did so well on both maps, Elfish, you know, we saw across the entire split, they were really good on both World's Edge and Storm Point. A lot of other teams specialist on one or the other, but Daewoo really managed to top their playstyle throughout the series, and that just helped them so much. And that's why they were consistent, and they did finish over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that obviously that really only leaves us with one player, or one team left. Only a few players that are going to take that spot. I think we can probably all guess who that's going to be. So it shouldn't be too much of a surprise when we do get that one announced. But sent overseas, is it going to be another win from APAC South?
Alrighty. I think we're just look. We've got we've got the one team left to announce. I'm not sure if we can do that, or maybe we can just jump into the interview now. Elfish, honestly, we've got we do have Waltzy here in the chat with us from the winning team, Moist Esports. And Waltzy, I just want to give you a big fat Australian congratulations and say, well bloody done, mate.
Thank you. That was actually crazy.
That was crazy. I've never really seen anything like that, to be quite honest with you. I don't know what happened today for you guys. Were you, like, you know, the first game, I think not so great, but second place in game 2, we sort of started to see it coming together, and then you sort of flip a switch. What, like, how do you go about winning 3 games in a row? Is that, I don't know. I'm just trying to understand how you guys have actually made that possible, because it's not normally something that really happens all that often. Are you guys just on another level today?
I mean, I'm just gonna chalk it down to like the character comp swap to crypto. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yes.
But having Empty in a position where he has all the information that he needs, he can just make the right calls, and that's pretty much exactly what happened today.
So, I mean, just to follow on from that, is this like a big brain, high stakes kind of a strategy that you pull out? Because I remember you did this when you were over in Sweden. You guys were not playing crypto, and then on the day where you like won 2 games or something, crypto comes out. So is this just a Waltzy special?
No, it just takes a little bit of convincing, unfortunately. Otherwise, we would have been doing it a bit earlier. Empty wasn't exactly keen to try crypto, just like a confidence, like, because crypto is obviously like a hard character to play. but kind of just drilled top 3 macro RGL in the world, in my opinion. So him on a character where he can just sort of like always have information is just like, I mean, we're just always going to benefit. And even in scrims, just trying it, we were always in Godspot, but we were like most likely going to like throw games if we ever weren't converting. So today we kind of just converted because he still got us to Godspot every game.
Yeah, it certainly seemed to be happening. Just so often there, with that switch to crypto. I mean, I mentioned I actually talked to him a little bit about this in the last week or two, Waltzy, and he said he thought it was not necessarily as good on World's Edge compared to Storm Point, but we saw you pick it up on both maps there. So did you consider switching between the two on the map, on the different maps? Or do you really, you just think it's the better comp regardless?
I think it just suits our team the best. So just having, like, as I said, having him with all the info in the world means he can just IGL like much clearer, and like that really showed today. I'm playing Valk, so it's just like I've got the game sort of on easy mode, and Pricey's got like a pretty deep like pool of characters that he can play. So him and Watson was like also no issue. And I don't know if you saw today, but like Pricey was just like frying out of his brain. So just doesn't really matter what character he's on.
Yeah. Talk me through the final game there as well. You know, where we obviously, you know, you guys go in, you're the first team, the only team that has match point available. You scan the ring, you see it's gone south, quite close to you, and you make probably the fastest rotation I've ever seen. Is that something that you're really like cognitively thinking of? You're looking at that and saying, we just want to be the first one in a position, and we want to have like a game, but we don't really have to do too much until the end game.
Yeah, you kind of just want to keep your head down, and like you don't want to change the way you play. I feel like if we were to do that, especially on the comp that we're playing, we're just gonna only end up like getting ourselves in trouble. So we just like stuck to the same game plan, sort of like played a bit tighter, didn't really take as much risk. And I don't know if you saw, but like at the very start of that game, I actually got knocked, so it was a bit risky at the start, but we played well.
Well, actually, something that we did actually want to ask you about that as well was, were you changing up your skin? You know, because this is a conversation we always have as casters. It's like, oh, should the players change their skins? Should they change their comms? Should they change their playstyle? Blah, 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 when they get to the match point. But I think you were running a different skin, right? Earlier on in the day.
We all run that's the beauty of the build that we play on. So we've got like all the skins that you could possibly want. So we're always running like changing skins all the time. We don't want teams to know like who we are, kind of thing. So yeah, we definitely were changing skins like every game.
Awesome, big brain.
Yeah, something else I wanted to ask was, we had an interview with you earlier in the season, Waltzy, and you talked about some of the weight of the expectations, you know, not only from, you know, us, get the casters sort of pushing those narratives about Moist being one of the best teams in the region, and who was going to take over from Dark Zero. And you were talking about how that pressure was genuinely affecting you guys. So can you talk me through, you know, sort of your mindset and what you guys were thinking coming into this final week, where it was all on the line, and where for you guys it was like, you know, there was a chance you could have overtaken Boogie Borders and gotten to qualify that way, but there was also a high chance that you needed to take that first place to actually get through, which of course you have ended up doing in just like unimaginable style. So yeah, just mentally, I want to know how you guys dealt with that pressure this week, and how you got to be just playing out of your minds this week.
No, I'm not trying to like boost myself here, but I drilled these guys on their confidence. So Empty, in my opinion, as I said before, is a top 3 macro RGL in the world, but confidence is something that he sort of struggles with just in trusting himself. And so I've had to keep like reassuring him of how good he is. And even today, like after every game, I was doing the same thing, making sure that he understood. Because if these guys are feeling themselves, I don't really have to do much. And that's like the biggest reason, like, as to why like I made this team change like a while ago. When these guys are on, my job's so easy. I sit there, I just shoot people, I do what a controller player does. So I'd say it mainly just came down to confidence and just like drilling ourselves like we are the best team in the region, and just like constantly just making sure that we're on that headspace.
Yeah, and you proved it beyond all doubt, I feel like, today. Yeah, look, congratulations, mate. I'm so glad that you guys have made it over to OC, to LAN. And I know there's a lot of fans, both in OC and around the world, honestly, from your, you know, the Team Burger days, that are really happy that you are making it to that next stage.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Waltzy, for the chat, and best of luck when you do go overseas. So looking forward to seeing you compete.
Thank you, thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you for your time. All right, Genome, obviously really good stuff today. I think we've talked enough about Moist Esports. Everyone knows they're going overseas at this point. We do have a couple more things to obviously get to as well. There's still one team that have not been announced yet. I think probably by this stage, most people will have found that out by themselves. They will have looked all over the place. And I mean, it was probably a pretty obvious team to begin with. So maybe it's not that big of a deal, but end of the day, it's obviously quite important to lock these things in. And so we will just give a quick shout out as well to Chicken Sandwich, who I would say have probably been the best team this season up to today. Obviously, you can't take anything away from Moist today, but prior to this, Chicken Sandwich had been the team that had really been dominating things, and they absolutely deserve that spot as well.
Yeah, and not only that, I guess I'm just going to echo a bit of what we said about Boogie Borders as well, where we've got Strafing Flame, who's actually from Indonesia, I believe, but still speaks English, and then we've got the two other players from OCE. None of these guys have been to LAN before, so winning through here, coming in that top 5, is just everything to these guys, and it's not only going to be a fun experience for them, but it's only going to make them better in the future. I mean, how are the players, the other teams that have been to LAN before doing? They continue to do really well, don't they, Elfish? I mean, you've seen other teams like Moist, like Dewa, really take to heart the amazing experiences and playing against all these great players from around the world and continue to do better. And really the only teams we've seen, unfortunately, not quite make it through this time. Dreamfire and Buriram are probably the two that have had that international experience. And sadly, with only the 5 spots, we just have to wait. Maybe they'll get a chance next split.
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, here is the overall scoreboard, and it was Chicken Sandwich that walked away with the overall first place for the season. So they get that 10K prize toward the top end. Moist Esports in second. They didn't quite do enough today, even though they did as much as they could to get first overall in the season. So they got their 25 points, and that put them to 125. But they had a lot of a gap to catch up on Chicken Sandwich, who at the end of the day did win the day. Did win the season, not the day. Dewa United, Boogie Borders, EXO, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those are the teams that we are going to be sending overseas. So it's really good to see all of those teams making it. Dreamfire just going to miss out. They will be disappointed. 8 points the difference for them.
Yeah, and, it was the 5 top teams going into today that did end up taking out those LAN spots, Elfish. So nothing, really out of the ordinary, I suppose, apart from, Moist's performance and just how incredible that was. But yeah, in terms of, what we expected, I guess, we really did get the best teams from the region going through, the most consistent teams. It wasn't, any of those Cinderella stories sort of in that last moment or anything like that. Either way, that's kind of most of it from us here at Longshot. It's been another great split. I'm sure everyone's going to be tuning in come next year, come 2023, when we head across to LAN and we get to see the even bigger and more exciting version of ALGS that we get to celebrate with every season with a LAN.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be looking forward to it. I know you are as well, and I'm sure everyone at home is super looking forward to it too. So I think that more or less wraps up the season for ALGS in the APAC South region. But obviously, there's still plenty more to come, and we do come back next year. We'll be back again. It's going to be exciting. We'll get to send another bunch of teams over to the Split 2 playoffs as well. So things don't slow down. We do get to have a bit of a break over Christmas. I hope everyone has a good Christmas and a happy New Year as well, and happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Either way, I think we should pretty much wrap it up there, Genome. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Yep, look, just keep following, make sure you're following Longshot on socials. Follow us here on Twitch and on Twitter as well. We'll keep pumping out the content, and we'll be back next split. Don't worry, bigger and better than ever, I'm sure. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and LGS is in a great spot, and I hope APAC South continues to do as well overseas as we have in the past.
Well, thank you very much for watching, and we do appreciate your support. Make sure you support the teams as they go overseas. Give them all your love, cheering for the APAC South region, and we'll be back next time. Have a good night.